Chapter 1679. I've already said what I wanted to say. You're on your own now. Song Yuanjia snorted coldly. If not for the fact that this group of people didn't show any abnormalities, he would definitely have dealt with them all. Everyone looked at each other, and no one dared to speak. Even if all the people present were to add up their own banks, they would still not be as strong as the Ganges Bank. Moreover, if Song Yuanjia raised his arm and called for help, who knew how many experts would come to help? It wasn't just this group of people who were trapped. Wei Qing of the Tianfu Bank and his subordinates were also trapped. At this moment, in the inn, Wei Qing gathered everyone in front of him. The town has already been closed. Song Yuanjia most likely already knows about our plan. When will that lord arrive? Wei Qing looked at his confidant standing in front of him and asked. The lord he was referring to was his confidence in dealing with the Ganges Bank. As long as he arrived, the Ganges Bank would be turned into a pile of ruins in an instant. He'll probably arrive tonight. The subordinate calculated the time. Remember, as long as that lord arrives in the town, we will immediately take action. Wei Qing nodded and gave the order. This was their only chance. If they couldn't obtain the position of the head of the Chamber of Commerce, they couldn't hold the majority of the debt in the northern region in their hands. They wouldn't have the qualifications to deal with the people in the bank who wanted to get rid of them. The town gradually calmed down. After the ordinary people knew that they couldn't leave, they all chose to hide. Dusk fell. Just as Jiang Chun was preparing to sleep, a very vigorous and fierce aura instantly enveloped the entire town. He even felt some pressure on his chest and found it difficult to breathe. Xianjun is here. As soon as Jiang Chun detected this familiar aura, he made this judgment almost instantly. Junior brother. A few seconds after Jiang Chun sensed it, Bai Xiaoyan rushed in like a stream of light. He pulled Bai Fengyu's arm and stood in front of Jiang Chun, then closed the door heavily. Is it Immortal King Xianjun? Bai Fengyu's hair was a little messy from the wind. That's right, he's here. Bai Xiaoyan nodded. If it wasn't for Xianjun, he wouldn't be so anxious. Little junior brother, is Xianjun here to help the Ganges Bank, or the Tianfu Bank, or to cause trouble for you? I don't know. Jiang Chun shrugged. This is bad. If they're really coming for you, I won't be able to protect you with my strength. Bai Xiaoyan had an anxious expression. He wasn't Xianjun's match, and once he was defeated, then Jiang Chun would definitely fall into a dangerous situation. It's fine. The people from the Thousand Harmonies sect are here. Jiang Chun was only a little surprised that Xianjun was here, but he wasn't afraid at all. Right, with Grand Elder Su Qian here, I can be at ease. Bai Xiaoyan heavily exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, and her entire body relaxed. However, this bank does have some ability to actually be able to invite Immortal King Xianjun here. At this moment, Xianjun stood in the air above the city. He lowered his head and looked disdainfully. Everyone in the city was within his perception. After sweeping his gaze, he sensed Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyan. However, there was one person whose cultivation seemed to be shrouded in fog, making him unable to see through it all. Xianjun was a little surprised. To be able to give him such a feeling, there were probably only two other immortal kings in the entire immortal world. Could it be that this was a hidden expert who wasn't weaker than them? This wasn't impossible. After all, the immortal world was incomparably vast. Although the three of them were publicly recognized as the strongest immortal kings, who could be sure that there wasn't someone stronger than them in the immortal world? At the very least, even if the person in the city wasn't as strong as him, the difference wouldn't be too great. Immortal King Xianjun. Wei Qing also felt the majestic aura and immediately ran out and shouted into the air. Wei Qing, why did you call me here? Immortal King Xianjun slowly descended and asked with a slight frown. Back then, your Heaven Province Bank helped me collect the Immortal King inner core of the Flame Phoenix race. I promised you that no matter what, I would help you once. But you have to know that after this, there will be no more connections between us. I know, Immortal King Xianjun, this is the annual gathering of our North Region Chamber of Commerce. I didn't expect the Ganges Bank to take advantage of this opportunity to get rid of us. Now that all the city gates have been closed, we really have no choice but to ask for your help. Wei Qing cried with snot and tears. Oh, Ganges Bank? Xianjun was a little speechless. The Ganges Bank could be said to be one of the largest forces in the North region. Even he didn't dare to provoke them easily. But after all, they had an agreement. If he went back now, his reputation in the immortal world would be tarnished in the future. That's right. Immortal King Xianjun, please save us. The dozen lives of our Heaven Province Bank are in your hands. Seeing Xianjun hesitate, Wei Qing directly knelt on the ground with a plop. What do you want me to do? Xianjun frowned. Immortal King Xianjun, please kill all the people of the Ganges Bank. Only in this way can we prevent future troubles, and our Heaven Province Bank won't suffer from their revenge. Wei Qing said with cupped fists, I have an agreement first. Now I naturally have to help you. Leave this matter to me. Xianjun thought for a moment and agreed. Then he closed his eyes and used his immortal power to sense. When he sensed the location of the people of the Ganges Bank, he prepared to rush over. Immortal King Xianjun, please wait. In an instant, an old voice sounded. A figure rushed out from the city and blocked Xianjun's path. Xianjun stopped. He knew that this was the expert whose true cultivation he couldn't sense just now. Facing a cultivator who was similar to him, he didn't dare to underestimate him. Who are you? Xianjun looked at Su Qian, the great elder of the Qinna sect. I was entrusted by the Ganges Bank to escort you. Su Qian had his hands behind his back. Facing Xianjun, he didn't lose at all. In fact, his calm appearance made Xianjun somewhat fearful. Su Qian? Xianjun took a deep breath. He finally remembered who the person in front of him was. Back then, before the immortal emperor's tomb, he brought his disciples to seek revenge on Jiangchen. It was this person and the first mountain master of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain who stopped him. He didn't expect that enemies would meet on a narrow road. That's me. Su Qian chuckled. Immortal King Xianjun, we haven't seen each other for a while. Why don't we ignore these mundane matters? We won't help either of us. Let's go to the tea house below to have some tea. How about that? Su Qian, go back. I've never had any grudges with your Qinna sect. Previously, you've already protected Jiangchen. I've also taken a step back. Don't meddle in today's matter. Xianjun waved his hand and said, Chapter 1680. No, I was entrusted by someone, so I naturally have to solve this matter. Could it be that immortal King Xianjun can turn around and go back now? The great elder shook his head with a smile. Then let me test your strength today. Xianjun had never received such a provocation before. Inside the town, two vast immortal powers condensed in the air. Many people completely forgot about the danger and ran out of their hiding places, ready to feast their eyes. Immortal kings with such strength, let alone seeing them fight, they usually didn't even have the chance to see them. Jiang Chun and Bai Xiaoyan stood side by side. Bai Fengyu, who was at the side, held his arm tightly, looking very afraid. I'm afraid Great Elder Su Qian is not a match for Xianjun. Jiang Chun raised his head and looked at the sky. He could feel the immortal power fluctuations emanating from their bodies. He frowned slightly and spoke in a worried tone. He's not a match for them, but it's impossible for them to fight to the death. These two people are here to help. Moreover, even if Xianjun can kill Great Elder Su Qian, he will definitely be seriously injured. He might even become an ordinary person in the future. Bai Xiaoyan continued. That's right. Jiang Chen nodded in agreement. In the air, just as everyone was preparing to watch the fight, a wave of energy erupted from Xianjun and Su Qian's bodies at the same time. Soon after, a barrier was formed and enveloped the two of them. Immortal kings with such strength, once they fought, it would definitely cause the mountains to collapse and the earth to collapse. No one present would be able to escape. The two of them were not fighting to the death, but only to determine the victor. There was no need to make it so serious. Sigh. However, to those ordinary people who didn't know anything, it was indeed disappointing. I'm afraid Great Elder Su Qian isn't a match for Immortal King Xianjun, head shopkeeper. Why don't we take advantage of this opportunity to control those people from the Heavenly Province Bank? Someone stood beside Song Yuanjia and said in a low voice. Then don't just stand there, hurry up and deal with it. Song Yuanjia didn't think about it and immediately said, "Also, let all the experts in the bank move out. I think the Heavenly Province Bank definitely won't only find Xianjun as a helper." Understood. Under Song Yuanji's orders, a dozen immortal venerables and several immortal monarchs rushed to the inn where the people from the Heavenly Province Bank were staying. At the same time, more than 10 immortal venerables and several immortal monarchs, contacted by the Bank of Heaven Province, had also arrived at the entrance of the town. They directly broke through the guards outside and rushed inside. Almost instantly, the masters of the Tianfu Bank and the Ganges Bank clashed. The battle between an immortal sovereign and an immortal monarch was enough to destroy this town. The ordinary people, who were regretting not being able to see the battle between the immortal kings, were all scared out of their wits when they felt the biting cold immortal energy fluctuations spreading out. They rushed towards the hiding places that they had prepared in advance. Compared to them, Jiang Chun and the other two were calmer. Bai Xiaoyan directly mobilized her immortal energy, forming an immortal energy barrier around the three of them. She sat on a rock, crossed her legs, and rested her chin on her hands. She looked at the battlefield not far away and sighed. "I have to say, it's been a long time since I've seen such a scene. I didn't expect to encounter such a situation at a banquet." Jiang Chun also felt a little emotional, but now wasn't the time to watch the fight. It was time to do serious business. After saying this, Jiang Chun glanced at Bai Xiaoyan. Bai Xiaoyan immediately reacted. "Fengyu, follow behind us. Don't get separated." After confirming with his eyes, Jiang Chun immediately got up and rushed to the manor where Song Yuanjia lived. Behind him, Bai Xiaoyan followed. Although Bai Fengyu didn't understand why, she still chose to follow Jiang Chun unconditionally. This was the only thing she had to do after coming to the immortal world. A few minutes later, the three of them stood at the entrance of the manor. Yesterday, there were still many guards standing guard here, but now they had all left to deal with the people from the Bank of Heaven Province. The entire manor was empty, and there was no one guarding it. "Junior brother, do you know where it is?" Bai Xiaoyan spread out her immortal energy. After confirming that there was no one around, she asked, "Maybe it was put away." Jiang Chun shook his head. Let's go in first." Bai Xiaoyan removed the barrier and walked inside. The three of them entered the usually heavily guarded Ganges Bank's manor. As soon as they entered, the three of them immediately spread out and carried out a carpet search. Jiang Chun went to the place where he saw Song Yuanjia yesterday. Tables, chairs, benches, corners of cabinets. Everything that could be seen was carefully searched. Outside, those immortal venerables and immortal monarchs were still fighting. In the whole town, half of the area had turned into ruins. There were also many ordinary people who were in hiding who were hit by the attacks and ended up with serious injuries or even death. But now, no one went back to care about them. "Senior brother, I found it." Jiang Chun searched the main hall and finally found a box on a wooden shelf that was exactly the same as the one in Song Yuanjia's hand yesterday. He immediately spread out a wisp of immortal energy with his voice. After receiving Jiang Chun's news, Bai Xiaoyan and Bai Fengyu rushed over. Jiang Chun opened the box and saw a note inside. The content of the note was very simple. There was only a short line of words. "This black sect master actually has 10 subsects in the East region and the North region." Jiang Chun was a little surprised. The Black Cloud sect that he had previously dealt with and the Citra family that Great Elder Su Qian had inquired about were all in the North region. In other words, in the North region, there were still 8 forces that belonged to the Black Sect Master that had not been discovered, and in the East region, there were 10. This Ganges Bank is not very good. There's only this, but there are no names of those sections. The information is completely worthless. Bai Xiaoyan glanced at it and turned her head to the side. It's not easy to get this information. Jiang Chun did not feel much. After all, he had met the Black Sect Master so many times and did not even know what he looked like. To be able to know that this person was hiding something from him was definitely at the peak level. With this kind of information, they still want to cheat you of your money. This Ganges Bank is probably too poor. Bai Xiaoyan spat, looked around, and directly put a vase on the table into her storage ring. "Martial Ant." Bai Fengyu's face stiffened. "We have worked hard to come here, so we should at least get some reward. We can't just go back like this." Bai Xiaoyan chuckled. and as she spoke, she took away all the other things on the table. Cough, cough, pay attention to your image. With Bai Fingyu beside him, Jiang Chun held back. Chapter 1681. After taking these things from Song Yuanji's residence, the three of them immediately walked out of the manor. In the town, dozens of experts were still fighting. Nearly half of the people living here had already died. Before they died, they didn't even have the chance to fight back or hide. Under the attacks of the immortal venerables and immortal monarchs, the places where they hid were destroyed like dry weeds and rotten wood. Did you catch them? Song Yuanji led his subordinates and surrounded the inn. Yes. The subordinate nodded and waved his hand. Wei Qing, Wei Xiaoqiao, and the people of Tianfu Bank were escorted out by the experts of Ganji's Bank. Looking at Song Yuanji, Wei Qing snorted coldly. Young Master Wei, look at how chaotic it is outside. If you continue to stay in the inn and something happens to you, I won't be able to explain it to your father. Song Yuanji smiled faintly, but anyone could see the hidden ruthlessness under his smile. Song Yuanji, you don't have to say these words. Wei Qing spat on the ground. Invite young Master Wei and young Miss Wei to stay in the manor. When the town is safe, send them away. Song Yuanji didn't take his words seriously at all. Under his orders, the people of Tianfu Bank were brought to the manor. Although Song Yuanji wanted to kill them, he did a good job on the surface. Especially now that the people of the other banks were in the town, if he made a move now, the news would definitely spread. Only when everyone left and only Ganji's bank was left in the town would it be the best time to make a move. As long as his people didn't spread the news, even if the people of Tianfu Bank came to ask in the future, he would tell them that he let them go after the crisis was resolved. As for why there was no news, it had nothing to do with him. Head shopkeeper, the manor seems to have been ransacked. A few of his subordinates sat down to rest and soon found that something was wrong. The bottles and other things on the table that had been there for hundreds of years were now gone. Who would come here? Song Yuanji was a little surprised. Could it be Wei Qing's subordinate? The experts of Ganji's Bank were all on guard. Relax, there's no one here. Song Yuanji was a 9th level immortal venerable. He could even sense an immortal monarch. At this moment, he didn't sense anything wrong in the manor. The chaos in the town, this lasted for nearly 2 days. Those immortal venerables and immortal monarchs continued to exchange blows. At the top of the town, the barrier was also broken. Buzz! 2 wind-breaking sounds rang out. Xianjun and Su Qian flashed out of the barrier. They retreated several hundred steps in midair before stabilizing their figures. Both of their auras fluctuated a little. As expected of one of the 3 great immortal kings, Su Qian clutched his chest. In the barrier, he had already used all his skills, but no matter how he fought, he was always at a disadvantage. There were even a few times when he would have been killed in the barrier if he had not reacted in time. You're not bad either. You were able to exchange hundreds of blows with me. Xianjun's hair was disheveled, and he no longer looked like an expert. Even his robes were torn, and there were wounds on his arms. Immortal King Xianjun, why don't we both take a step back? After catching his breath, Su Qian gradually recovered a little. I hope to fight with you again in the future. Looking down, Xianjun waved his hand, and his figure instantly disappeared in midair. He had only come here to help. Now that he had blocked an immortal king who was not weaker than him, he had already done what he needed to do. As for other things, he would not care at all, and it was not within his jurisdiction. Phew! Seeing him leave, Su Qian let out a heavy breath. The moment he heaved a sigh of relief, his aura rapidly weakened. In the end, his figure staggered and directly fell from the sky. Grand Elders! When the few protectors of the China sect who were fighting below saw this, they immediately repelled the opponent in front of them and leaped forward to catch the falling Su Qian. Xianjun is indeed worthy of being one of the 3 great immortal kings. I'm not his match. The Grand Elder held the protector's shoulders with both hands and sighed deeply as he said helplessly. Grand Elder was able to block Xianjun and fight with him for a day and a night. I'm afraid there aren't many people in the entire immortal world who can do that. The 2 protectors looked at each other, and immediately retreated, bringing Su Qian to a safe place. After putting Su Qian down and looking at the experts who were rushing over again, the two protectors once again urged the immortal power in their bodies to catch up. Xian Jun rushed out of the town and stopped hundreds of miles away from the town. Humph. Xian Jun groaned and pressed one hand on his chest, suppressing the blood that was about to enter his mouth. At the same time, his other hand quickly formed a seal and then patted the top of his head. A gentle light rose from the soles of his feet and slowly healed the injuries in his body. In the battle with Su Qian just now, he did not hold back. Although he suppressed it, he was also injured. Qinna sect, Grand Elder Su Qian. Xian Jun exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and said indifferently, I really didn't expect that a small Qinna sect in the eastern region would have such an expert overseeing it. Feeling that the situation in his body was getting worse and worse, Xian Jun looked around and found a more secluded place. He sat cross-legged in the middle and began to heal his injuries. The gentle light enveloped his entire body. Not only was it healing his injuries, but it was also firmly locking his immortal power fluctuations to prevent them from spreading outside. Another day passed. Those immortal supremacies were either dead or injured. The immortal monarchs were in a better situation, but they were also injured. After sensing that Xian Jun had left, these experts who had been called over by the Bank of Heaven province immediately rushed out of the town. They were only here to help. They were not stupid enough to fall to the point of dying here just to help Wei Qing. It seems that it's still not that good. Standing in the middle of the manor and sensing that all the immortal monarchs had left, Song Yuanjia could not help but laugh loudly. Head shopkeeper, including immortal King Xian Jun, all the experts invited by the Bank of Heaven province have left. His subordinate stood beside Song Yuanjia and said in a low voice, Pass down my orders. Open the town and let the people from the other banks leave. As for the Bank of Heaven province, other than Wei Qing and Wei Xiaoqiao, everyone else is to be sent to the secret prison. I want to let them know what the consequences of offending their superiors are. Song Yuanjia clapped his hands together and ordered loudly, Yes, head shopkeeper. The people standing in front nodded in agreement and immediately dispersed from the manor. The few of you, follow me to take a look at Grand Elder Su. If it wasn't for him this time, we would have been killed by immortal King Xian Jun. Seeing them leave, Song Yuanjia lifted his foot and left. Chapter 1682. Inside a luxurious room, Su Qian was resting on the bed. Jiang Chen asked Bai Xiaoyan to take care of Bai Fengyu while he rushed over to take care of Su Qian. He saw the fight between Xian Jun and Su Qian yesterday. If it wasn't for the Thousand Harmonies Sect's protector, Jiang Chen wouldn't have sat back and watched. Great Elder, little friend Jiang Chen, Ganji's bank's head shopkeeper Song Yuanjia is here. A disciple knocked on the door and said respectfully. Just as he finished speaking, Song Yuanjia walked in with two of his confidants. Seeing Su Qian lying on the bed, he immediately went forward and half knelt in front of the bed. He said with some self-blame, Great Elder Su, I really didn't know that the Heavenly Province Bank would invite immortal King Xian Jun to help. If it wasn't for you, we would have already become bones. Now that I see your condition, I feel really sorry. Head shopkeeper, please don't say such things. My injuries aren't even considered injuries. As long as I rest for a period of time, I will recover. Great Elder sat up with Jiang Chen's help and said with a smile, Little friend Jiang Chen? Song Yuanjia nodded. When he stood up, he suddenly saw Jiang Chen standing beside the bed. Little friend Jiang Chen, you really misunderstood me that day. Head shopkeeper, there's nothing to say between us. Jiang Chen quickly waved his hand and interrupted him. Although he wanted to sell the information of the Black Sect to him at a high price, he also snuck into the manor and secretly saw the information. Bai Xiaoyan even took away a lot of things. Even with Jiang Chen's thick skin, he still felt a little embarrassed. All right, since little friend isn't willing to listen, then I won't say anything. Seeing that Jiang Chen was a little impatient, Song Yuanjia swallowed his words back into his stomach. However, he had to give the information of the Black Sect to Jiang Chen. He could only wait until they left the town before making plans. Head shopkeeper, your town is already in ruins. Don't waste your time here. My body is fine, and I have people from the sect to take care of me. The great elder took a deep breath. I'll come again another day. Song Yuanjia stood up and cupped his hands towards Su Qian before leaving backwards. Su Qian was right. He did have something to do right now, but it wasn't to rebuild the city. Instead, he went to interrogate the people of the Heavenly Province Bank to see why they had such thoughts. He even invited the immortal King Xianjun over, somewhere in the manor. This was the second day that Wei Qing and Wei Xiaoqiao had been locked up here. Although the two of them were not restrained, they were under house arrest in this room. Outside the room, there were many people from the Ganges Bank patrolling and guarding. Even when they wanted to go to the toilet, there were 6 or 7 people following behind them. In the secret underground prison, all the experts and followers of the Heavenly Province Bank were locked up here. These people were tied up with ropes as thick as an arm. Within the ropes, there was a faint flow of immortal energy that sealed their strength. Even if these people used all their strength, they would not be able to break free. Crack! The heavy door was pushed open. Song Yuanjia walked in slowly with 2 of his subordinates. After he entered, the originally dark secret prison lit up. The people standing on both sides bowed to him in respect. Song Yuanjia, where is our young master and young miss? If you dare to make a move, even if we die, we will drag you down. Seeing Song Yuanjia, a dozen people gritted their teeth and questioned loudly. If you have the time to worry about others, why don't you think about your situation? Song Yuanjia still had a peaceful smile on his face, but anyone could see that under his smile, there was a fierce expression hidden. Bah! The person at the front spat. This spit landed on Song Yuanjia's shoes embroidered with dragons and phoenixes. Unrepentant, the smile on Song Yuanjia's face froze. With a wave of his hand, a lot of water gushed out from the dark corner. In the blink of an eye, half of these experts were submerged. The water was not clear. On the contrary, it was very turbid and filled with a pungent smell. In the water, there were constantly black shadows swimming back and forth. When the shadows swept out of the water, they saw that they were poisonous snakes. I advise you to be honest. This water contains the bone-damaging grass I added and the bone-corroding snakes I raised. When you are soaked in water, these little treasures will treat you as the most delicious food. Not only will they eat your flesh, but even your bones and flesh will be swallowed clean by them. At that time, you will see with your own eyes that you will lose your lower body. Standing outside the water, Song Yuanjia crossed his arms and looked indifferently at the group of people soaked in the water. Everyone says that you, Song Yuanjia, are dignified and righteous, but now it seems that you are a sinister and vicious villain. The people of the northern region have been deceived by your dog-like appearance. Seeing these bone-corroding snakes, the experts of the Bank of Heaven struggled with all their might. But with the ropes tightly binding them, they could not exert any strength at all. They could only smell the fishy stench and watch the poisonous snakes swimming around their bodies, eager to try. I, Song Yuanjia, have always been like this. I treat others the way they treat me. Song Yuanjia did not even blink. How could he be the shopkeeper of the Ganges Bank and let it stand in the northern region and be called the largest bank in the northern region be a simple person? What the people of the northern region knew was just what he wanted them to know. Despicable. The group of people spat into the water at the same time. If I remember correctly, you should be Wei Qing's personal guard. I think you're called Cheng Zhuang. You should know him very well. Tell me, why is your Heavenly Province Bank doing this? If you tell me the truth, I can let you live. Song Yuanjia squatted down and looked at the most muscular person in the group. Cheng Zhuang raised his head and snorted coldly. Song Yuanjia, you know that I am the young master's personal guard. If you want to get information from me, you will have to wait until I die. You don't know how to appreciate favors. Being insulted, Song Yuanjia's face instantly darkened. He took out a small bottle and, with the help of his immortal force, poured a small pool of grayish-green liquid directly onto Cheng Zhuang's body. Before Cheng Zhuang knew what was happening, the bone-corroding snakes in the water suddenly swam quickly towards him. Ah, a blood-curdling scream resounded. Very soon, blood emerged from the puddle of water. Dozens of bone-eroding snakes gathered around him, attacking him. The flesh on his legs and hip bones were bitten off bit by bit. Even though he was a 6th-level immortal venerable, he couldn't withstand the pain. Chapter 1683. Cheng Zhuang clenched his teeth in pain and forced himself not to make a sound. However, his groans were even more frightening. The other experts of the Bank of Heaven were trembling in fear. They could accept death, but they couldn't accept dying in this way in the serene prison. Soon, the smell of blood filled the air. Cheng Zhuang's lower body had been hollowed out by the bone-eroding snakes. Because of the gray-green liquid, the snakes leaped up and bit Cheng Zhuang viciously. They could still hold themselves back. After all, they were in the puddle. Even if they knew what had happened and could smell the blood, they couldn't see it. However, they had clearly seen what the bone corrosion serpent had done. These people couldn't take it anymore and vomited. If anyone wants to show their loyalty to Wei Qing, feel free to tell me. If anyone wants to leave this place, then answer my question. Perhaps I will consider being merciful and let you live. Song Yuanjia took out another bottle, glanced at them, and said indifferently, I'll talk. This time, the rest of the people all shouted at the top of their lungs. While they were talking, Cheng Zhuang had already disappeared. Only the piece of rope was left floating on the ground. Let me ask you, why did the Bank of Heaven attack the Ganges Bank? Song Yuanjia smiled in satisfaction. However, his smile was as scary as it could get. Let me tell you, a skinny man standing in front of him said immediately, Head shopkeeper, the situation is like this. The Wei family can no longer control the Bank of Heaven. There are outsiders who want to snatch the Bank of Heaven away from the Wei family. The family's plan is to eat up the Ganges Bank. This way, your voice will fall into our hands. The Wei family can also use this opportunity to regain control of the Bank of Heaven. The man looked at the bone-eroding snakes swimming around him. He was so frightened that his voice trembled. That's it? This answer was beyond his expectations. That's right. He's right. If you don't believe us, you can send someone to ask around. If we lie, we'll be struck by lightning. The others chimed in. So that's how it is? It looks like your Wei clan is no longer qualified to continue managing the Heavenly Province Bank. Song Yuanjia slowly stood up. A thought popped into his mind, and he laughed heartily. Head shopkeeper, we've already told you the truth. Can you let us go? Everyone looked at Song Yuanjia. They didn't want to end up like Cheng Zhuang. Get rid of them all. Song Yuanjia wasn't in the mood to pay attention to them. He waved to his subordinates and walked towards the exit. Seeing him leave, the crowd shouted in unison. You killed so many of our Ganges Bank's brothers, and you still want to leave this place alive? You must be dreaming. The subordinate spat, but the head shopkeeper promised us that if we told him the truth, he would let us go. These people's faces were ashen. The head shopkeeper agreed, but we didn't. The subordinate sneered. Shouts constantly rang out from the secret prison. The longer they soaked in the water, the more interested the bone-corroding snake became in them. Finally, an hour after Song Yuanjia left, the bone-corroding snake attacked them. In just a few minutes, the lives of this group of people were completely lost. Whoosh! In the room, the sleeping Wei Qing was suddenly awakened. Large beads of sweat dripped from his forehead. His eyes were filled with fear as he sat on the bed, not knowing what to do. Big brother, what's wrong? Wei Xiaoqiao hurried over. Cheng Zhuang is in trouble. Wei Qing was a little dazed. Cheng Zhuang and I have cultivated together since we were young, and we have telepathy. He should have died in the hands of those people from the Ganges Bank. Then what should we do? We didn't succeed. Song Yuanjia definitely won't let us go. Wei Xiaoqiao looked worried. She had always been against such actions, but she was only a girl, not even 20 years old. Her words carried no weight, and no one in the clan took her seriously. I'm the young master of the Wei clan. Song Yuanjia shouldn't dare to do anything to me. Our lives won't be in danger. Wei Qing took a deep breath. He didn't have much confidence when he said this. He was just comforting himself. Well said, as expected of the young master of the Wei clan. However, What Wei Qing didn't expect was that just as he finished speaking, there was the sound of a slap from outside. Wei Qing was no longer sleepy. He immediately got up from the bed and stared at the door warily. "Young master, are you used to living here?" Song Yuanzhe walked out of the door. He didn't bring anyone with him. With Wei Qing and Wei Xiaoqiao's strength, they weren't a threat to him. "Song Yuanzhe, what did you do to Cheng Zhuang?" Wei Qing clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. "You mean him? I gave him a chance, but he didn't take it." Song Yuanzhe sat on a chair by the door and crossed his legs. "Young Master Wei, do you want to live or stay here forever?" "What do you mean? I'm the young master of the Wei clan and the young master of the Tianfu Bank. Do you dare to kill me?" Wei Qing was shocked by his words. Although his body was trembling from fear, he still stubbornly asked, "Of course I don't dare to kill you, but I can keep you here forever. Your Wei clan can no longer fully own the Tianfu Bank. Wouldn't it be a pity if such a good business was taken over by others? Why don't I be kind and take it over for you?" Song Yuanzhe laughed. As soon as he said this, Wei Qing immediately sat on the ground. He didn't know how Song Yuanzhe knew about this. "Miss Xiaoqiao, take good care of your big brother. Let him eat and drink well here. Otherwise, I'll be a failure as a host." Song Yuanzhe looked at Wei Qing. The next day, after confirming that the first elder's injuries weren't serious and that he was gradually recovering, Jiang Chun prepared to leave the town. There was no point in staying here any longer. Moreover, Lin Baichao was still waiting for him at the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. Jiang Chun wanted to see what good things Lin Baichao would give him this time. After receiving news that Jiang Chun was leaving, Song Yuanzhe immediately brought people to the door. He drove everyone out of the inn and had his subordinates guard the door to prevent anyone from entering. Only then did he pat the dust off his clothes and quickly walked in. Although Jiang Chun was sitting in the room, he could sense the situation. Chapter 1684. Little friend Jiang Chun, I'm really sorry for my sudden visit. Song Yuanzhe's expression was normal, completely unlike how he was in the secret prison. When he knew that Jiang Chun was going to leave, he immediately rushed over. He was afraid that if he was any slower, Jiang Chun would leave this place. "Shopkeeper Song, I've already said that I'm not interested in the things in your hands. If you force me to sell, wouldn't that go against the demeanor of a businessman?" Jiang Chun frowned as he sat in the room and asked softly, "It's a misunderstanding. It's really a misunderstanding. I didn't want to sell this to you. It's just that your impression of our Ganges Bank is too firm." Song Yuanzhe smiled. If others were to see him like this, they would definitely be shocked out of their wits. The shopkeeper of the Ganges Bank could even stand tall in front of an immortal king. When did he become so respectful to a junior with only the cultivation of a heaven immortal? "Oh!" Jiang Chun was slightly surprised. "It seems that we don't have any dealings with each other. If you're not here to sell things, could it be that you're here to catch up?" Song Yuanzhe walked in with a smile. When he saw that it wasn't just Jiang Chun in the room, but also by Xiaoyun and by Fengyu, the smile on his face disappeared, and he straightened his back. "I'm not here to catch up. I just have some things to say to you. But can you ask these two to leave temporarily? These words can only be said to you." Song Yuanzhe said with some difficulty. "No need. These two are very close to me. There's no need to hide anything from them." Jiang Chun frowned and refused. "Little friend Jiang Chun, your relationship with great Elder Su Qian is not bad. He also helped our Ganges Bank so much. I definitely won't harm you. It's just that other than you, I can't tell anyone else about this. I hope that you can make it convenient for me." Song Yuanzhe hesitated for a while, but still insisted. "Eldest senior brother, Fengyu, you guys go out first." Seeing him like this, Jiang Chun said, "I'm warning you, don't try anything funny. If you dare to harm Jiang Chun, then even if Grand Elder Su Qian stands on your side, I'm absolutely confident in taking your life." When they left the room, Bai Xiaoyan stopped by Song Yuanzhe's side and threatened in a low voice. Song Yuanzhe smiled, but didn't say anything. Bai Xiaoyan left with Bai Fengyu, and Song Yuanzhe hurriedly closed the door. "Young master," with the door shut, Song Yuanzhe got down on one knee and cupped his hands as he respectfully called out to Jiang Chun. What did you call me? Jiang Chen thought that Song Yuanjia might try to worm his way into being friends with him and earn Great Elder Su Qian's help in the future. He also thought that he might lower the price and sell the information about the Black Sect. However, he never expected that Song Yuanjia would actually make such a move. Young Lord! Song Yuanjia raised his head. The smile on his face was long gone, replaced by a very serious expression. Hiss! Jiang Chen sucked in a breath of cold air as he rubbed his face with both hands. Why did he keep encountering such things recently? Why did such a famous force in the northern region have such a strange hobby? Young Lord, you might not understand, but our Ganges Bank is the same as the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. After the sect was destroyed, we were lucky enough to escape. However, the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy was personally gifted by the Immortal Emperor. As for our Ganges Bank, because we weren't in the sect, we weren't affected. Song Yuanjia was still kneeling on one knee. This deep look made it impossible for anyone to doubt him. You're also from the Tianji sect? Jiang Chen was stunned. He obviously didn't expect such a thing to happen again. How did you know that I'm the young lord? It was Lin Baichao who told me. After you left the sect meeting, he immediately contacted me and asked me to use all the strength of the Ganges Bank to investigate the situation of the Black Sect in the outer region. Time was tight. I only found out a little, so I sent an invitation to the young lord. I didn't expect the young lord to be so guarded against me. If I didn't know that you were about to leave, I definitely wouldn't have dared to take the initiative. Song Yuanjia said helplessly. How can I believe you? Although Jiang Chen was a little shocked, he didn't lose his mind. He could believe the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy because he had never been in contact with this force. However, Lin Baichao could shout out his encounter in the Immortal Emperor's tomb, so Jiang Chen had to believe him. However, what Song Yuanjia said could be investigated by the Ganges Bank. Song Yuanjia was embarrassed. Since you can't say it, please go back. I'm not your young lord. Jiang Chen waved his hand. He wouldn't believe Song Yuanjia so easily. How could a shopkeeper of a large bank be an ordinary person? I'll say it. Song Yuanjia suddenly became anxious. During the sect meeting, Lin Baichao specially arranged the weakest opponent for the young lord. He even helped you win against the disciples of the Black Cloud sect. However, when you dealt with Yin Jitian, the young lord didn't let Lin Baichao help. Cough, cough. Jiang Chen was a little embarrassed. It was really embarrassing to say this. Young lord, do you believe me? Song Yuanjia stood up and walked to Jiang Chen with the box. After opening it, he held up the paper inside. Young lord, this is the information we found. Please take a look. I already know the content inside. Jiang Chen waved his hand. Young master, this is news that our Ganges Bank sent out over 100 intelligence agents to find out. You actually knew about it long ago. Song Yuanjia said in shock. You are indeed worthy of being recognized by the Immortal Emperor. This ability really makes us ashamed. Hearing his praise, Jiang Chen blushed. Young lord, please come to my manor for a chat. I have other things to say to you. Song Yuanjia quickly put away the wooden box. Jiang Chen nodded and got up to open the door. He saw Bai Xiaoyan and Bai Fengyu standing at the door. After talking to them, Jiang Chen left with Song Yuanjia. The two of you, this is a bit too shabby. You should stay with me in the manor. I will receive you with the highest standards. Song Yuanjia immediately turned around and said, No problem. Before Jiang Chen could speak, Bai Xiaoyan agreed. Even if Song Yuanjia didn't say it, Bai Xiaoyan would follow. Here, he wouldn't let Jiang Chen out of his sight. He also had to ensure Jiang Chen's safety. The four of them left the inn together and left in Song Yuanjia's carriage. On the way, many people recognized Song Yuanjia's carriage. They were also guessing who could make Song Yuanjia personally go to the inn to receive them. Sitting in the car, Jiang Chen asked in a low voice, Did Grand Elder Lin tell you not to tell anyone who we are? Recalling what had happened, Jiang Chen asked in a low voice. Chapter 1685. Yes, of course I did. It's precisely because I know this situation that I told you alone. Song Yuanjia replied with a smile. It's good that you know. Without my permission, you're not allowed to tell anyone about our relationship. Jiang Chen nodded. Elder Lin did a good job on this point. Young master, why don't you just move into the bank and live there? I can provide you with the best living conditions in the entire northern region. Song Yuanjia chuckled. Moreover, you'll be the head shopkeeper of the Ganges Bank in the future. I'll just be your gatekeeper. No, I don't like the atmosphere here. However, I do have something to ask of you. Jiang Chen shook his head. Just as he finished rejecting, he suddenly thought of something. Young lord, what are you talking about? As long as you need our help, just tell me. Our Ganges Bank will do anything to help you. Jiang Chen's politeness made Song Yuanjia feel uneasy. It's the 1 billion immortal jade that I gave you before. Can you give it to me? Jiang Chen looked at him. Of course, not to mention 1 billion immortal jade. Even if it's a few billion immortal jade or 10 billion immortal jade, there's no problem. The Ganges Bank is already yours. As long as it doesn't affect the bank's normal operations, just say the word, and I'll send it to you at any time. Song Yuanjia slapped his thigh and said passionately. Even his saliva almost splashed onto Jiang Chen's face. That's not necessary. Jiang Chen hurriedly waved his hand and refused. Although he liked money, it was far from the extent that Song Yuanjia said. While they were talking, the four of them arrived at the manor. Song Yuanjia hurriedly arranged a guest room for Bai Xiaoyan and Song Yuanjia. Then, he immediately gave orders to his trusted subordinates and led Jiang Chen inside. Head shopkeeper Song. Looking around, Jiang Chen asked, Young master, just call me Little Song in the future. I really can't afford to be the head shopkeeper. Song Yuanjia hurriedly explained, as if he had suffered a heavy blow. Shopkeeper Song, since you know about this matter, why didn't you tell me when I came here a few days ago? Jiang Chen asked as he sat on the chair. Song Yuanjia hurriedly went to fetch a pot of freshly boiled tea and trotted over to Jiang Chen to make tea. It's my first time meeting young master, so I have to observe. After all, the Ganges Bank is too big, and I have to be responsible for the bank. I hope young master won't blame me. Understood, understood. Jiang Chen took a sip of hot tea and said, Head shopkeeper, the promissory note is here. The underling hurriedly ran in and said while panting, Go and rest. Song Yuanjia coughed lightly. In front of his subordinates, he still had to maintain the dignity of the head shopkeeper. However, as soon as his subordinates left, he squatted down with a smile on his face. Young master, this is a promissory note of 2 billion immortal jade. If you need money in the future, just ask. Thank you. Jiang Chen glanced at it and threw it into his storage ring. By the way, didn't you say that you have something to tell me? Yes. Young master, please follow me. Speaking of this matter, Song Yuanjia's expression became more normal. He got up and walked outside. After walking around the corridor and a few pavilions, he arrived at a place guarded by dozens of disciples. Jiang Chen didn't say anything and just followed behind Song Yuanjia. The underling opened the door and Song Yuanjia walked in. This was the place where Wei Qing and Wei Xiaoqiao lived. Young Master Wei, is the food of the Ganges Bank not to your liking? Song Yuanjia asked coldly as he looked at the food boxes on the side. Song Yuanjia, hurry up and let us out. I'm the young master of the Wei family. You can't treat me like this. Hearing the familiar voice, Wei Qing rushed out and pointed at Song Yuanjia's nose as he cursed loudly. As soon as he finished speaking, Wei Qing saw Jiang Chen standing beside Song Yuanjia. Even though they had only met once, he remembered Jiang Chen's appearance. This was the first young man who dared to be so arrogant in front of him. Thank you for your help, shopkeeper Song. He thought Song Yuanjia had captured Jiang Chen for him. He cupped his fist to express his gratitude. Then he threw a punch at Jiang Chen directly. Jiang Chen's face was pale, and his face was pale. Slap. A slap sounded. Wei Qing flew out and slammed heavily into the wall. Jiang Chen stood in the same spot and didn't move at all. The one who slapped him was indeed Song Yuanjia. Song Yuanjia used all his strength to slap him. Even his palm turned red. Song Yuanjia, how dare you slap me? Wei Qing covered the side of his swollen face. The taste of blood in his mouth made him spit out a mouthful of saliva. Crack! As he spat out a mouthful of blood, a few teeth fell to the ground. Yes, I hit you. Song Yuanjia snorted coldly. Wei Qing, bear this in mind. If you dare harm even a single hair of Jiang Chen's, I will surely torture you to death. Even if your father is here, it won't be of any use. Big brother, are you okay? Hearing the noise, Wei Xiaoqiao quickly walked out of the room. Seeing Wei Qing's miserable state, tears flowed down her face. Men, take Miss Wei away and take good care of her. If she is mistreated, I will punish you with the highest punishment of the bank. Seeing Wei Xiaoqiao's pitiful appearance, Song Yuanjia couldn't bear it. He waved his hand and shouted loudly. Soon a few people from the Ganges Bank quickly walked in. They grabbed Wei Xiaoqiao's hands and dragged her outside. Wei Qing, why don't you take a look at the state you're in now? Put away your young master style, and maybe I'll let you live. Song Yuanjia blew lightly, and the door to the room closed tightly. Wei Qing covered his face and stood there. His body was trembling uncontrollably from anger. However, he knew that with Song Yuanjia standing there, he wouldn't have the chance to hurt Jiang Chen. Manager, I wonder what you want to do by bringing me here? Jiang Chen looked at Wei Qing indifferently. He didn't take this person seriously at all. Jiang Chen, I want to give you something as a gift for our first meeting. Song Yuanjia was just about to say it when he suddenly remembered what Jiang Chen had told him. He immediately changed the way he addressed Jiang Chen. After speaking, Song Yuanjia narrowed his eyes and looked at Wei Qing. Meeting Song Yuanjia's gaze, Wei Qing immediately felt goosebumps all over his body. F***ck. Wei Qing swallowed his saliva and fearfully took 2 steps back. Even the injury on his face didn't hurt as much. He realized that these 2 people were definitely not normal people. Song Yuanjia wanted to give him as a gift to Jiang Chen. Then wouldn't Jiang Chen be a living pervert? Chapter 1687. Wei Qing suddenly felt his body tighten. He immediately took 2 steps back and pressed himself against the wall. If he was given to Jiang Chen as a gift, he might as well die here. It was better than being humiliated. What did you say? Hearing Wei Qing's cursing, Song Yuanjia raised his hand again. Song Yuanjia, if you want to kill me, just say it. Don't do such disgusting things. I'd rather die here than do such things with Jiang Chen. Wei Qing straightened his neck. This was his last dignity as a man. Even if he died, he couldn't be humiliated. Is your brain damaged from my slap? Hearing this, Song Yuanjia instantly understood. He turned to Jiang Chen and said, Little friend Jiang Chen, my gift to you is his Tianfu Bank. What did you say? Wei Qing was stunned. Song Yuanjia paused for a moment before continuing. The Heavenly Province Bank is in chaos right now. I'm prepared to take it over as a gift to you. This way, you'll be able to live with sufficient funds. As for the people in the bank, I'll replace them with people I trust. The Wei clan will all be kicked out. Don't even think about it. Wei Qing shouted. He endured the pain on his face and rushed up to fight Song Yuanjia. If he lost the Tianfu Bank, his Wei family status would plummet. Even those people he had offended before would rush up to take revenge. At that time, even if he died, he wouldn't have a place to rest. I'm not talking to you. Be honest. Song Yuanjia slapped him again. Wei Qing spun twice on the spot. The other half of his face was swollen. He looked like a pig demon. It was very horrifying. Yes, I accept. Jiang Chen originally had no interest in these things, but seeing Wei Qing like this, he directly accepted. Good. Then I'll immediately arrange for the Tianfu Bank to be brought over within 7 days. Seeing Jiang Chen agree, Song Yuanjia laughed. This proved that the young master was not very repulsive to him. When the Tianji sect reappeared in the immortal world, when the sect once again stood at the top of the immortal world, they could still get protection and return to the sect. After saying this, Jiang Chen left. Wei Qing shrank into a corner and shivered. He had never thought that Song Yuanjia's ambition would actually be so great, vainly attempting to swallow up their clan. Young Master Wei, I cannot restrict your freedom and allow you to move around here. However, if you have any ulterior motives and want to escape, don't blame me for not being considerate. If you don't believe me, you can give it a try. Let's see if you can disappear from my sight with your cultivation. With these words, Song Yunja left with his hands behind his back. By the wall, Wei Qin covered his face and slowly sat down. He still did not understand what was going on. Why was it that even after inviting immortal King Xianjun, he still could not bite down on the bone of the Ganges Bank? Now, not only was the bank and his clan involved, but he was also under house arrest. Not to mention that his movements were restricted. He was afraid that if Song Yuanzhou was unhappy in the future, he could kill him at any time. Jiang Chen stayed in the city for 2 days. After bidding farewell to Su Qian and Song Yuanzhou, he left with Bai Xiaoyan and Bai Fengyu. After returning to the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, Jiang Chen reported the situation to the First Mountain Lord. I really did not expect that the Black Gate's influence had already infiltrated the north and east regions so deeply. Hearing Jiang Chen's news, the First Mountain Lord took a deep breath. First Mountain Lord, what's the situation in the outer regions? Jiang Chen did not understand. When he was in the immortal world, although he knew about the existence of the outer regions, he had never had any contact with the forces there. He only knew the names of the outer regions. Since ancient times, the outer regions have been one of the most mysterious places in the immortal world. It is said that there is not much difference between the outer regions and our north region, but there are many secrets hidden within. The sects are also completely different from normal sects like ours. Other than experts at the level of the 3 immortal kings, I'm afraid no one knows what it's like inside. The First Mountain Master racked her brains and tried to recall everything she knew about the outer field. However, she discovered that her knowledge of the outer field was also very shallow. She had only learned about many things after she had helped Jiang Chen to gather information. Can't we enter the outer regions? Jiang Chen frowned. If he knew that he would encounter such a situation in this life, he would have gone to the outer regions to take a look when he was in the immortal world. I don't know. It should be possible to enter, but no one will go in. The First Mountain Lord shook her head. Let's deal with the Citra family first. From these subsects, we will definitely learn more about the Black Sect. When we know enough, it will be time to act. Jiang Chen felt helpless. To some extent, the information he had gotten wasn't useful at all. By the way, when we dealt with the Black Cloud sect, we did not get any information from the sect. The Black Sect's leader is a little cunning. He did not leave anything in the subsects. Looking at Jiang Chen's frown, the First Mountain Lord quickly said, "That day, the expert who suddenly killed the Black Cloud sect's elder. You don't know his identity?" Jiang Chen asked. "Yes, this person's strength is very high. He's above us. We chased him for hundreds of miles. He hid his aura very well. Maybe he was too fast." The First Mountain Lord was a little helpless. The 9 Mountain Lords moved together, but they did not even catch a glimpse of the opponent's shadow. It was indeed a little frustrating. "Thank you for your hard work." Jiang Chen cupped his hands towards the First Mountain Lord. He knew that this stepmother had indeed worked a lot for him. "It's not hard work. If you see Wan Cheng again, tell him to come back. I have something to say to him." Hearing Jiang Chen's concern, the First Mountain Lord smiled. If father wants to hide, no one can find him. Jiang Chen still had some understanding of Wan Cheng. It would not be easier to find him than to find the hiding place of the Black Sect's leader. Coming out of the main hall of the First Mountain, Jiang Chen returned to the 9th Mountain. Thinking that Lin Baichao still wanted him to go to the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy, Jiang Chen was not in a hurry. He planned to rest for 2 days before going. Sitting on Xian Yu's bed, Jiang Chen had a lot of thoughts. Whether it was the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy or the Ganges Bank, they were all well-known forces in the North region. Now, they were both his subordinates. Lin Baichao and Song Yuanzhou even respectfully called him young master. This made Jiang Chen feel like he was dreaming. Thinking of this, Jiang Chen stood up. Facing the east, he stood straight and cupped his hands. "Emperor Qinji, I take back what I said before. It seems that you have given me a lot of things." Jiang Chen said very respectfully. Chapter 1688. They stayed in the 9th Mountain for 2 days. Jiang Chen headed to the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. This time, he didn't bring Bai Xiaoyan and Bai Fengyu, but Zhang Yuan and Horfu. It wasn't that he wanted them to protect him, but as the guardian spirit beasts of the immortal emperor's tomb, They should be familiar with Lin Baichao. They might even have the chance to release the seal on their cultivation. Just as they were about to leave, Jiang Chun saw Hikari. Hikari. Jiang Chun waved at her. Bai Fengyu carried her and walked to Jiang Chun. Master, why don't you let Marshal Uncle Bai go with you? After the incident at the Chamber of Commerce, Bai Fengyu was a little worried. She believed in Jiang Chun, but Jiang Chun's cultivation was only at the 4th level of the Heaven Immortal realm. He couldn't fight back against the immortal monarchs and immortal kings. With Bai Xiaoyun's protection, she felt more at ease. It's safe this time. Jiang Chun smiled faintly and took Hikari from her hands. Marshal Uncle, Hikari called out sweetly. This girl had been by Jiang Chun's side for half a year. Ever since she came out of the underground boxing arena, her originally skinny body quickly recovered and even grew taller. When she stood beside Bai Fengyu, she almost reached her shoulders. But in Jiang Chun's eyes, she was still a child. Do you want to go out with Master to broaden your horizons? Jiang Chun asked with a smile. If you do, say goodbye to Senior Sister and Marshal Uncle. Goodbye, Senior Sister. Goodbye, Marshal Uncle. Getting down from Jiang Chun's arms, Hikari waved at Bai Xiaoyun and Bai Fengyu. Jiang Chun laughed and nodded at Hua Fu and Jiang Yuan. Then he held Hikari's little hand and rushed down the mountain. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the clouds. On the mountain peak, after Jiang Chun left, Xian Yu appeared. This brat, he comes and goes like the wind. I really don't know how many things he has to deal with. Why does he have to go out all the time? Xian Yu's eyes were filled with worry. She had also heard about the situation of the Merchant Association. If you want to become strong, this is the only way. Only by going out and experiencing enough things and encountering enough dangers can you grow. Bai Xiaoyun pretended to be mature. Do I need you to tell me that? Xian Yu rolled her eyes. When she met Jiang Chun, Bai Xiaoyun was probably still in her mother's womb. In terms of familiarity with Jiang Chun, if she, Xian Yu, were to say that she was number 2, no one would dare to claim to be number 1 in front of her. Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. Lin Baichao was reading a medical book. This book was already in tatters. The pages were yellowed and somewhat damaged. Some of the words were even illegible. However, Lin Baichao was watching with great interest. There was no other reason. On the cover of the book, there were 4 words, Thousand Machines Medical Method. This was the sect's medical method that Emperor Qinji brought with him when he sent them out. It recorded all the medical methods that Qinji's sect had in its tens of thousands of years of existence. In the thousands of years since the sect was destroyed, Lin Baichao had read it countless times. Great Elder, there is news from the Ganges Bank. Shopkeeper Song has already contacted Jiang Chun and wants to give the Tianfu Bank to the young master. Seeing that Lin Baichao was reading, the family disciple came in quietly. He stood in front of the desk for a while and waited for Lin Baichao to raise his head before speaking softly. Not bad. Song Yuanjia hasn't forgotten his roots. Ha! Lin Baichao closed the book and laughed in satisfaction. I think the young master will be here soon. Remember not to make a fuss. Go and prepare. Yes, Great Elder. The family disciple nodded. In the evening, Jiang Chun brought the 3 of them to the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. This place was not like a city. Instead, it was located under an endless mountain range. It was like an ordinary farm, but the air was filled with immortal energy and the unique fragrance of herbs. Xanadu. Hua Fu's eyes lit up. This was the place she dreamed of living. Jiang Chun also liked it here. It was as if as long as he saw the scene in front of him, he could forget all the unhappiness and tiredness. He only wanted to relax here and stay away from the disputes and grievances in the immortal world. After standing for a while, a young man in gray ran out of the village. Excuse me, are you Jiang Chun? He looked at Jiang Chun and said, I heard that the Great Elder was looking for me for something, so I rushed over. These are all my friends. It shouldn't be a problem, right? Jiang Chun nodded. It doesn't matter. You are the champion of the sect assembly. The Great Elder has already instructed us to clean up your residence. The man nodded and was very respectful to Jiang Chun. Following behind him, the 4 of them walked all the way into the village. At the foot of the mountain range, in front of a very simple courtyard house, Jiang Chen saw Lin Baichao sitting in the yard, taking in the shade with a fan. If he didn't already know who he was, he would have thought that he was an ordinary old farmer. Thinking of Hua Fu and Jiang Yuan's status, Jiang Chen didn't avoid them and directly led them in. "Young master, long time no see." Sensing Jiang Chen's familiar aura, Lin Baichao opened his eyes and walked over with a smile. "Old Lin, you're still alive?" Before Jiang Chen could speak, Hua Fu's charming eyes showed surprise. "Didn't you fall in the battle back then? Come in. We can catch up later." The great elder laughed and patted Jiang Yuan's shoulder. "You're still as strong as ever." "Ha!" Jiang Yuan smiled embarrassedly. It was obvious that Jiang Yuan and Hua Fu were very happy to see old friends. "Is this your child?" Seeing the little girl being pulled by Jiang Chen, Lin Baichao couldn't help but squat down and pinch Hikari's cute cheeks. "She's my disciple?" Jiang Chen was shocked by Lin Baichao's words. "Hikari, this is great elder Lin Baichao. He's a great senior." Hikari greets great elder Lin. Hikari imitated Jiang Chen and cupped her hands. She looks so obedient. "Young master, let her play in the yard for a while. It's very safe here. No one dares to trespass." Lin Baichao wanted to carry Hikari, but thinking of what he had to say later, he said seriously to Jiang Chen, "Play in the yard, don't go out." Jiang Chen tapped Hikari's nose. Hikari agreed softly. The four of them entered the room in the north. Lin Baichao boiled a pot of tea, then sighed and filled everyone's cups with tea. It had been thousands of years. He finally saw the dawn of re-establishing the sect. The young master who was recognized by the immortal emperor, the spiritual beast immortal ape expert who guarded the sect, and the young miss of the flame phoenix race. "Old Lin, why are you crying? You don't have to be so emotional to see us." Hua Fu was touched, but she still joked. "You're so indecent. You didn't respect me when the sect was still around. Thousands of years have passed, and you're still like this." Lin Baichao pointed at Hua Fu. Chapter 1689. In terms of strength, you have to call me senior. Hua Fu smiled. She knew what kind of person Lin Baichao was, so she continued to joke. "This old man really didn't expect that I would be able to meet other people of Tianji sect in my lifetime. Even the young master who was recognized by the immortal emperor appeared in front of me like this." Lin Baichao's eyes became moist as he spoke. "Great elder Lin, why did you call me here this time?" Jiang Chen couldn't stand such an emotional moment. He even wanted to go out and play with Hikari. "All right, I would have forgotten if you didn't mention it." Lin Baichao wiped his face and sat beside the round table. "Last time when you fought with Yin Jitian of Yin sect and seriously injured him, I have been observing the situation of this sect. According to the information I received, Yin sect should not be willing to give up and is already thinking of ways to deal with you." Lin Baichao looked at Jiang Chen and said in a low voice. What he didn't expect was that as soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen laughed. "What's going on?" Lin Baichao was shocked and quickly looked at Hua Fu and Jiang Yuan sitting opposite him. The two shrugged. Neither of them understood why Jiang Chen's reaction was so emotional. "Great elder, to tell you the truth, Yin sect has been thinking about me for a long time. When I went to Kunlun Immortal Mountain, even Immortal King Xianjun was lured out, but in the end, nothing was done." Jiang Chen laughed. Thinking of Xianjun's face in front of the 9 mountain lords, he felt a burst of joy. Kunlun Immortal Mountain does have this kind of strength. Lin Baichao also laughed. "So, this is not called trouble at all. If they can deal with me, I'm afraid I won't be sitting here now." Jiang Chen waved his hand and said, from the moment he saw Yun Jitian, he didn't put him in his eyes. The entire Yun sect couldn't raise its head in Kunlun Immortal Mountain. However, you still have to be careful. You can't always be under the protection of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. With your current cultivation base as a heavenly immortal, if Immortal King Xianjun sends a few immortal reverends here, you will still find it difficult to handle them. Moreover, the Cloud sect is not as simple as it seems to be. The reason why they can stand tall in the northern region is not entirely because of Xianjun, although Lin Baichao appreciated Jiang Chen's confidence. he was still a little worried. Don't worry. With us here, if the Cloud sect dares to come looking for trouble, we will definitely make sure that they won't be able to return. That's right, Huafu and Jiang Yuan said together. Lin Baichao was just about to remind them not to be so arrogant when he suddenly sensed that the cultivation of the two spirit beasts had fallen to high immortal realm. In fact, they might not even be at high immortal realm. Your strength. If I remember correctly, the two of you should be at the 5th level of the Immortal King realm. Why do you look like you've just advanced to the Immortal Monarch realm? Did you encounter some trouble? Lin Baichao narrowed his eyes. He dared to hurt the people of their Tianji sect. Even if it was the 3 immortal kings, he would not let it go easily. Alas! Hearing this, Jiang Yuan sighed heavily. He raised the teacup in his hand and drank the tea in one gulp. Then, he hugged his thigh and sulked. Huafu, tell me what's the situation? Seeing that Jiang Yuan had no intention of speaking, Lin Baichao looked at Huafu, who was sitting next to him. You shouldn't ask us this. Although Huafu's reaction was not as big as Jiang Yuan's, she was also very unhappy. Indeed, they had received guidance from the Immortal Emperor to advance to the Immortal King realm. However, the torture and experience were real. Now that they had suddenly returned to the time before liberation, they would definitely not be able to accept it. Great Elder Lin, let me tell you, seeing that the two of them had no intention of speaking, Jiang Chun smiled helplessly and said, When I met Brother Jiang Yuan and Sister Huafu in the Immortal Emperor tomb, they were indeed at the 5th level of the Immortal King realm. However, after leaving the Immortal Emperor tomb, their strength suddenly weakened. It might have triggered a spell set by the Immortal Emperor in the tomb, which suppressed their cultivation. Oh, the Immortal Emperor would do that. Lin Baichao was a little surprised. However, he could clearly feel that there was something wrong with Jiang Yuan and Huafu's cultivation. Moreover, it did not seem like they were forcibly suppressing their cultivation. So, Great Elder Lin, do you have a way to restore their strength? At this point, Jiang Qin's eyes became fiery. The 5th level of the Immortal King realm was enough to be called a cultivator at the top of the pyramid in the immortal world. With the help of these two, in addition to the 9 mountain lords of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain and Great Elder Su Qian, they would definitely be able to get rid of the sect leader of the Black Sect. However, they were only at the Immortal Monarch realm now. The gap between the Immortal Monarch realm and the Immortal King realm was too big. Lin Baichao lowered his head. I don't have a way to undo the spell set by the Immortal Emperor, but I will try my best. Hopefully I can undo their seal. Old Man Lin, if you can undo the seal on my cultivation, then I won't call you Old Man anymore. I'll call you Grand Elder Lin every time. Huafu suddenly turned around, looked at him, and said in a deep voice, Little Hua, I only said that I will try my best. You also know that if the spell set by the Immortal Emperor can be undone so easily, then he is not an Immortal Emperor. Lin Baichao smiled bitterly. On the other hand, you were unknowingly tampered with by the Immortal Emperor. Fortunately, you are immortal kings. Hey, I don't like what you said. It's not like you don't know the capabilities of the Immortal Emperor. Isn't it as easy as flipping over his own hand for him to tamper with our bodies? Huafu stepped on the table and pointed at Lin Baichao as she shouted loudly. Even some of the tea on the table spilled out. Sister Huafu, calm down. Impulse is the devil. Jiang Chun hurriedly grabbed Huafu's arm and persuaded her in a low voice. However, when he touched Huafu's skin, the tender and smooth feeling made Jiang Chun's heart ripple uncontrollably. He even felt like he was going to be intoxicated. Huafu snorted coldly and said no more. Great Elder Lin, don't mind her. Her temper has always been like this. Jiang Chun helplessly explained to Lin Baichao. It's okay. I have known her for thousands of years. Naturally, I know what she is like. Lin Baichao waved his hand and did not mind at all. After saying that, he stood up and walked outside. You guys sit here. I will go and look for a way. Perhaps I can find a way to undo it. But don't have too much hope. Lin Baichao slowly walked out of the courtyard with his hands behind his back. This old man really pisses me off. Huafu put her hands on her waist. Her plump breasts were heaving up and down because of anger. Jiang Qin's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. I really don't know why Emperor Qianji did this. We worked so hard to guard the tomb for him. But when we left, he did this to us. Jiang Yuan could not help but tremble when he mentioned this matter. Chapter 1690. After sitting in the room for a while and drinking tea, Jiang Chun prepared to walk around the village. What made Jiang Chun curious was that although he was an outsider, the people in the village were very respectful to him. Even when he walked to a locked place, someone would take the key to open the door. It felt as if the great elder had revealed his identity. However, Jiang Chun knew that people like Lin Baichao should keep their word. Since he had promised him, he would never break his promise. Around evening, Jiang Chun and the others returned to Lin Baichao's residence. In the room, many clansmen of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy were delivering medical books. Lin Baichao sat behind the table and kept flipping through the mountain of medical books. "How's it going?" Jiang Chun walked in softly. "It seems that I haven't found a solution." Jiang Yuan shook his head. After coming out of the tomb for half a year, he had accepted his current cultivation. It would be best if he could recover to the 5th layer of the Immortal King realm. However, if he couldn't, the strength of the Immortal Monarch realm was enough. "If I can't find a solution, when the tomb reappears in the eastern region 500 years later, I'll go into the barrier and ask Emperor Qianji what's going on." Huafu was still angry. "Sister Huafu, calm down." Looking at Huafu's full breasts, Jiang Chun swallowed his saliva unconsciously. He quickly lowered his head and looked at the wooden floor, trying to digest the complicated emotions in his mind. Time passed slowly. The night was getting darker. In the end, Lin Baichao held a lamp and was still flipping through it. However, from his expression, it seemed that there was no progress. After a long time, Lin Baichao exhaled heavily. He had flipped through hundreds of medical books, but still couldn't find a solution. "Unfortunately, all the medical books of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy are here. I can't find the answer." Lin Baichao stood up and said helplessly, "Although your cultivation has dropped to the Immortal Monarch realm, with your aptitude, it shouldn't be difficult for you to return to the Immortal King realm. It's just a matter of time." "I'm going out for a walk." Huafu opened the door and was ready to go out for a walk. She knew that she shouldn't vent her emotions on Jiang Chun and Lin Baichao, but she couldn't keep it in her heart. She urgently needed to vent. Grand Elder." As soon as the door was pushed open, a group of clansmen rushed in. Jiang Chun stared closely, because that clansman's head just happened to be facing Huafu's chest. Swish! Huafu's figure flashed, dodging the attack. The clansman fell to the ground, his arms bruised. "Good speed." Jiang Chun couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Lin Baichao was also a little emotional. He lowered his head, suppressed the anger in his heart, and asked in a low voice, "What are you all panicking for? Didn't I tell you this afternoon that there are important guests here? If there's nothing important, don't disturb us." "Grand Elder, I had no choice but to come and report." The clansman endured the pain and knelt on one knee. "Go find the other elders." "Will the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy collapse without me, the Grand Elder?" Lin Baichao waved his hand. He didn't want to deal with anything right now. He just wanted to sit here quietly and think of a solution. "It's the Cloud Sect." Elder Yun Lan of the Cloud Sect personally led some people and is now in front of the village. They said that they saw Jiang Chun enter the village and want us to hand him over. The clansman hesitated for a while, then stared at the pressure and said directly, in his opinion, in the entire Heaven and Earth Pharmacy, the Grand Elder was the only one who could deal with this situation. "What did you say?" As soon as he said that, Lin Baichao immediately stood up. Even Jiang Chun and Jiang Yuan got to their feet. Their eyes were full of smiles. Elder Yun Lan of the Cloud Sect personally led some people and is at the entrance of our village. They want us to hand Jiang Chun over. The clansman lowered his head, cupped his fists, and repeated in a low voice, "Well, a mere Cloud Sect dares to provoke me." Lin Baichao sneered. His previous weakness was swept away, and an extremely strong aura erupted from his body. "Immortal Duke?" Feeling the terrifying aura, Jiang couldn't help but exclaim. Who would have thought that this old man, who was so thin that a gust of wind could blow him away, was actually an immortal duke? You guys sit here. I'll deal with these small fries. Lin Baichao swung his sleeves and strode outside. Brother Jiang Yuan, Sister Huifu, let's go and have a look. Remembering that the Cloud Sect was a sect under the immortal king Xianjun, Jiang was worried that there might be some variables, so he hurriedly said to his companions, "Okay." Jiang Yuan nodded vigorously. His hands lowered, and his pitch-black eyes suddenly turned into the pupils of a beast. His aura also rose continuously. Sister Huifu. Jiang looked to his left, but Huifu, who had been sitting there just a moment ago, was long gone. Only the faint fragrance of her body still lingered in the air. I'm afraid she has already rushed out. Jiang Yuan had some understanding of Huifu. Many people had already gathered in the village. These were the experts of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. Their strength was roughly at the immortal venerable level, and only one or two of them were at the immortal duke level. When they had nothing to do, they were the clansmen who planted herbs and refined elixirs in the village. Once something happened, they would do their best to protect the village. Great Elder, should we send out a letter of challenge to those sects that took advantage of us before? The clansmen followed closely behind Lin Baichao. No need. If we can't even deal with a small cloud sect, our Heaven and Earth Pharmacy doesn't deserve to exist in the North region. Lin Baichao waved his hand and refused. At the entrance of the village, Yun Lan stood in midair. Beside him was a familiar-looking old man. If one looked carefully, one would realize that this was the person who took out the Xianjun royal seal in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Behind them, dozens of experts of the Cloud Sect had gathered. What a coincidence. I have a belly full of anger and don't know where to vent it. Since you guys arrived in time, I'll have to play with you guys. Just as Yun Lan was about to question them, a fiery red stream of light pierced through the night and swept out from the village. Clouds sink and clouds float. Stop them. Yun Lan was startled and immediately shouted, "Yes, Elder." Two old men of the half-step immortal duke level stepped out. Soon after, they collided heavily with the fiery red stream of light. Three different auras swept out in midair, causing several roofs in the village to collapse. Yunlan, why have you come to our Heaven and Earth Pharmacy so late at night? Moments later, Lin Baichao arrived at the entrance of the village. Looking at Huifu, who was already fighting with the other party, he pointed at Yunlan, who was standing in front of everyone, and shouted. Chapter 1691. Jiang is there, isn't he? Yun Lan stared at Lin Baichao. He didn't want to go against the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy, but Jiang had gone too far. He had humiliated Yun Sect time and time again. If he didn't vent his anger, he would become a joke. That's right, Lin Baichao said in a low voice. Great Elder Lin, Yun Sect has a good relationship with the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. I hope you won't cover up for Jiang. We're here to catch him. Yun Lan cupped his fists at Lin Baichao and said, Yun Lan, Yun Jitian was defeated by Jiang in the sect meeting because he was inferior. Apart from me, more than 10 other sects and ordinary people in the town saw it. If you want to take revenge on Jiang because of this, I'm afraid it won't be good for you. Lin Baichao put his hands behind his back, showing no intention of letting Yun Jitian go. It's not just that. Yun Lan's sore spot was poked. Yun Jitian was the most outstanding disciple of Yun Sect. Now that he had been severely injured by Jiang, he didn't know if he could wake up. This time, he came to avenge his disciple, but he still had to put on an act. Oh, what's that? Please tell me. Lin Baichao smiled. Half a year ago, at Kunlun Mountain, Jiang used a scheme to cheat our disciples of immortal jades and Wuji stones. He even destroyed the royal seal given to us by immortal king Xianjun. At Kunlun Mountain, he was protected by the 9 mountain lords, so we couldn't do anything. But now that we're here, I hope Great Elder Lin won't get involved in this matter for the sake of our sect. While speaking, Yin Lan kept searching in the village, but he didn't find Jiang. That's impossible. Jiang is already a guest of our Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. If I hand him over to them, I'm afraid the other sects and schools will curse me for it. Lin Baichao shook his head and said, First Elder Lin, do you really want to go against our Yun sect? Yun Lan's eyes were completely gloomy. Although the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy was the largest medicine sect in the northern region, he had purposely chosen to take action at night and kept it a secret. He didn't want Lin Baichao to know about it in advance and ask for help. Even if he were to find help now, by the time the other party arrived, the matter would have been resolved. You dare? Lin Baichao retorted. Why not? Our Cloud sect is Immortal King Xian Jun's sect. Even if your Heaven and Earth Pharmacy can find experts, do you think they would dare to go against Immortal King Xian Jun for you? Yun Lan burst into laughter. Puchi, Elder, save me. While Yun Lan was speaking, two figures suddenly flew out from the sky not far away. Like birds with broken wings, they let out a final wail and drew an arc in the air before falling to the ground. Boom! With a loud bang, two huge pits appeared on the ground. Clouds sink and clouds float. The smile on Yun Lan's face froze. These two were the strongest experts besides himself on this trip. But now, they had fallen to such a state without even seeing Jiang Chen's face. This made him hate Jiang Chen even more. Who else is not afraid of death? Come and fight with me. Not far away, Hua Fu's irritable voice came. She stood in the air, red immortal power revolving around her body. Even the shape of a phoenix was faintly condensed behind her back. Bathed in fire phoenix tribe? Seeing this, Yun Lan was stunned for a moment. The bathed in fire phoenix tribe was one of the strongest spiritual beast tribes in the immortal realm. It was rumored that the tribe leader was not weaker than the three immortal kings. The female phoenix in front of him was probably above the immortal lord realm. Want to run? Hearing the shock in Yun Lan's voice, Hua Fu sneered. Great Elder Lin, it's not worth doing this for Jiang Chen. As long as you hand him over, our Cloud sect is willing to form a good relationship with the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. Within 1,000 years, no matter what happens to the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy, our Cloud sect will do our best to help. We can even ask Immortal King Xianjun to help. After seeing that Hua Fu was a member of the Bathed in Fire Phoenix tribe, Yun Lan was a little afraid. Don't be so wishy-washy. Don't be a man. Seeing Yun Lan was the only strong one among these people, Hua Fu lost interest in him. Besides, after the fight with Clouds Sink and Clouds Float, her anger had gradually dissipated. She dispersed the shadow of the phoenix behind her and walked up to Jiang Chun with her long and fair legs in the air. Yun Lan had been staring at Hua Fu. When he saw the man beside Hua Fu, his eyes lit up instantly. Jiang Chun. For a moment, Yun Lan could not control the anger in his heart. His third-level Immortal Lord Realm cultivation erupted. Tisk TSK. They don't even have an Immortal King. Are all the sects under Xian Jun so weak? Hua Fu snorted coldly and said with some dissatisfaction. Yun Lan, on account of Immortal King Xian Jun, I won't do anything to you. Please leave immediately. Sensing that Yun Lan's mood was a little off, Lin Baichao hurriedly shouted. Great Elder Lin, I'm sorry. Yun Lan no longer took Lin Baichao's words seriously. Jiang Chun had first invited Immortal King Xianjun and lost his royal seal and immortal jade. Then he had injured all the disciples with potential in their sect. Now, two half-step immortal lords were seriously injured. If he did not vent his anger, Yun Lan would not be able to take it lying down. He also understood that now was the best opportunity to kill Jiang Chun. Otherwise, when this kid returned to Kunlun Immortal Mountain, there would be nothing he could do. You actually dare to attack in front of me? Lin Baichao frowned. With a flip of his palm, a long rod appeared, and he was about to charge forward. Senior Lin, please wait a moment. Let me deal with him. Zhang Yuan's voice came from behind. He roared furiously and smashed forward like a cannonball. At this moment, his body expanded rapidly and revealed his original form in the blink of an eye. Immortal Ape? Yun Lan was shocked once again. Based on his understanding of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy, it did not seem to be qualified to have anything to do with these two spiritual beast races. But now, the opponent he had to face was actually a spiritual beast. Without thinking too much, Jiang Yuan had already rushed in front of him. Yun Lan hurriedly parried and counterattacked. Although Jiang Yuan's cultivation was not even at the first level of a mortal monarch realm, and Yun Lan was at the third level of a mortal monarch realm, the physical body of a spiritual beast was strong to begin with. In addition, Jiang Yuan was an immortal king and had the combat experience of an immortal king. Therefore, there was no clear winner between the two of them. "Kid, you're really a troublemaker," Lin Baichao could not help but say. But this is very similar to the immortal emperor. When he first entered the immortal world, he also offended a large number of experts. Chapter 1692. Is the immortal emperor the same? Jiangchen asked curiously. Of course. The immortal emperor was also young. I remember that he was more troublesome than you. There were several times when he was cornered by his enemies. If it weren't for his good luck, he would have died. Reminiscing about the past, Lin Baichao temporarily forgot about the troubles in front of him, and a smile appeared on his face. I see. Jiangchen also smiled. So, the immortal emperor chose you. Not only do you have the talent to meet the immortal emperor's expectations, but you also have the same temperament as the immortal emperor. Looking at you, it's as if I'm looking at the immortal emperor when he was young. Lin Baichao tilted his head and looked at Jiang Chun, as if he was looking at his own junior. In the air, Jiang Yuan and Yun Lan were engaged in a fierce battle. Facing Jiang Yuan's simple and direct attacks, Yun Lan used all of his skills, constantly looking for opportunities to attack while blocking. However, although his cultivation base was higher than Jiang Yuan's, his combat experience was not just a little bit lower. After 30 to 40 rounds, Yun Lan gradually fell into a disadvantageous position. Seems like the experts of Cloud Sect aren't that good. Seeing Yun Lan's situation, Jiangchen couldn't help but say, I guess there are other immortal monarchs in Cloud Sect. They just didn't expect Huafu and Jiang Yuan to be here. They were caught off guard. Lin Baichao crossed his arms. Even without Huafu and Jiang Yuan, he could solve today's problem with his strength. Under everyone's gaze, Jiang Yuan's fist landed heavily on Yun Lan's chest. Puff! Yun Lan spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, landing beside floating clouds. Another deep pit was created, and this one was obviously deeper. What a piece of trash! Jiang Yuan spat, and his body shrunk rapidly. The people from Cloud Sect were stunned as they watched the scene in front of them. The scene in front of them had far exceeded their expectations. Even Elder Yun Lan, who was ranked among the top 5 in the sect, had ended up in such a state. If they were to take action, wouldn't there be nothing left of them? Did you have fun? Huafu looked at Jiang Yuan, who was sweating profusely, and asked, It's just as so. Jiang Yuan shook his head and said, Even though this person's strength is at the 2nd or 3rd level of the high immortal realm, he has too little combat experience. Moreover, the immortal energy in his body is too weak. He's far from being a match for me. If not for the fact that I don't want to provoke immortal King Xianjun, I would have blasted him into dust with that punch. That's right. These 3 pits will be filled with water after they leave. We can raise fish and shrimps there. When they grow up, we can bring them to the village to eat. Lin Baichao lowered his head and looked at the pits, laughing out loud. Underground, Yun Lan climbed out of the deep pit. He no longer looked like an expert. His entire body was covered in mud and dust, and there were several bloody wounds on his face. The blood flowing out of the corners of his mouth mixed with the mud, making him look extremely disgusting. Yun Lan, you'd better leave quickly. Don't cause trouble in our village. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't be able to leave today. Lin Baicao's figure slowly landed on the ground. Great Elder Lin, are you really determined to protect Jiangchen? Yun Lan panted heavily. He couldn't even stand properly, but he still gritted his teeth and asked in a low voice. Old thing, I think you're still not convinced. If you have the guts, stand there and don't move. I'll punch you twice in the face. Jiang Yuan clenched his fists and took 2 steps forward. Yun Lan's eyes narrowed, and he immediately retreated. He knew that he was no match for Jiang Yuan. If he took 2 more punches, he would be seriously injured even if he didn't die. Why aren't you taking your people and scram? Seeing his reaction, Jiang Yuan returned to Jiang Qin's side proudly. Yunlan looked at Lin Baichao, Jiang Yuan, Hua Fu, and Jiang Chun, who was standing in the middle with a calm expression. He gritted his teeth and shouted, "Take cloud sink and cloud float and leave this place." Following his shout, a few disciples of the cloud sect immediately rushed into the deep pit. They carried the two half-step immortal monarchs, who were no longer in human shape, and quickly left with Yunlan. They came at the right time. If it wasn't for them, I don't know where to vent my anger. Hua Fu looked at their backs, and the fighting spirit in her heart gradually dissipated. Looks like you've completely offended immortal king Xian Jun. Lin Baichao looked at Jiang Chun with a smile. I've offended him long ago. Jiang Chun didn't mind. With Bai Xianling and Su Qian around, even if Xian Jun wanted to attack him, he would have to think twice. When they were in the town, he and Su Qian had fought until both sides were injured. Seeing Yun Lan and the others leave, the crowd turned and walked into the village. When they passed by the few big pits, Lin Baichao stopped, pointed at the big pits, and said to the people beside him, "Go fill them with water and raise some fish." Cloud Sect spent a lot of effort to create these big pits. If we don't make use of them, wouldn't we disappoint them? Yes, Great Elder. A few disciples nodded. Back in the courtyard, the crowd chatted for a while and returned to the residence arranged by the Great Elder. Lying on the bed, Jiang Chun recalled the things that happened after he finished recuperating. Inexplicably, he became the young master of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy and the Ganges Bank. He also carried the heavy responsibility of reviving Qinji's sect. Emperor Qinji, I really don't know if you're scheming against me. Taking out the fusion method from the storage ring, Jiang Qin fell in a deep thought as he looked at the words written on it. In a forest 100 miles away from the village, the people of Cloud Sect stopped. Just as he stood still, Yun Lan spat out a mouthful of blood. "Elder!" A few disciples beside him hurriedly rushed over and supported him from both sides. "Elder, are you all right?" "I'm fine. I won't die." Yun Lan wiped the blood from his mouth and looked back in the direction of the village. Today his plan was thorough. With the strength of him and Yunchen Yun Fu, they could definitely control Lin Baichao. Then Jiang Chun would naturally become a fish in their net. However, no matter how much he calculated, there was still an accident. I really didn't expect that this Jiang Chun could actually know the spirit beasts of the Bathing Phoenix clan and the Immortal Ape clan. It seems that this person's identity is definitely not, as Immortal King Xianjun said, just the son of Wan Cheng. Yunlan sat on the ground with his back against the big tree. He took a few deep breaths and felt a little more comfortable. "Elder, why don't you talk to the sect master and let him think of a way?" Seeing Yunlan like this, several disciples next to him couldn't bear it. "Or go back and tell the sect master that Jiang Chun has humiliated our Cloud Sect twice and again. If we don't get rid of him, wouldn't it disgrace the reputation of Immortal King Xianjun?" Yun Lan slammed his fist on the tree. Chapter 1693. But Elder, Jiang Chun is now protected by the Bathing Flame Phoenix clan and the Immortal Ape clan. These are the top 10 spiritual beast clans in the immortal realm. If we offend them, I'm afraid even Immortal King Xian Jun won't be able to protect our Yun sect, a disciple reminded carefully. "Elder, I also heard a piece of news today. It seems that half a month ago, the 9 mountain masters of Kunlun Mountain and the experts in the sect attacked at the same time and destroyed the Black Cloud sect." Another disciple followed. "What do you mean?" Yunlan glared at them and asked loudly, "Are you saying that Jiang Chun has too many experts around him and we're no match for him?" No, Elder. We definitely don't mean that." Hearing Yunlan's words, the two disciples were so scared that they knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly, not daring to move. "Get up. Don't say such things in the future. No matter what, our Yun sect is a well-known sect in the northern region. If we were to be humiliated by Jiang Chun like this, wouldn't we be a joke to others?" Yun Lan waved his hand. He was not in the mood to punish these disciples at all. He just wanted to find a way to get rid of Jiang Chun. Anyway, Immortal King Xianjun was here. Even if the 9 mountain masters of Kunlun Mountain gathered again in the end, what could they do? As soon as Yunlan said this, all the disciples dared not speak again. However, there was still news that they did not say. That was the Horizontal Blade sect and the Witheredwood sect went to Kunlun Mountain to find trouble with Jiangchun. It was said that they were beaten to a pulp by the Immortal King experts around Jiangchun and suffered heavy casualties. Immortal King experts. That was the top strength in the entire Immortal realm. The next day, after Jiangchun woke up, he saw the huge pit that the 3 Immortal Kings of the Yun sect had smashed out yesterday. It was already filled with water. If one looked carefully, one could see that there were many young fish inside. Hikari, how's your comprehension going recently? Jiangchun held Hikari's hand. It's okay, but my talent is a little slow, so I can't comprehend some things. Hikari's little face fell. A 12 or 13-year-old girl was no longer at the age where she didn't know anything. After following Jiangchun for such a long time, she could understand that her master was surrounded by strong people. She naturally felt that if her talent was too weak and could not catch up to the strength of those people around her master, would there be a day when her master would lose patience with her and throw her away again? Hikari, who had experienced the underground boxing arena, was afraid of being alone again. Do you want to improve your cultivation base as soon as possible? Jiangchun suddenly revealed a smile. Yes. Hikari blurted out without hesitation. Let's go. Follow me to find Great Elder Lin. I'm sure he'll have a way. Jiangchun picked up the girl and walked towards the courtyard behind the village. Seeing Jiangchun come over, Lin Baichao put down the things in his hands. However, after hearing Jiangchun's explanation, he frowned slightly. You want to give this girl a pill to improve her strength quickly? Lin Baichao pointed at the girl in Jiangchun's arms. To tell you the truth, it's not too late for a young child like her to cultivate from the beginning. If she takes the pill now, her cultivation base will improve quickly, but her strength will be weak and it will be difficult for her to improve in the future. It will also be difficult for her to break through to the immortal venerable level. You're doing her harm. Looking at the cute Hikari, Lin Baichao really couldn't bear to do it. Great Elder Lin, during the sect meeting, you gave me a foundation establishment pill. Do you still remember? Jiangchun smiled and took out the jade bottle from his storage ring. This can be done, but I'm afraid it will make her relax. Lin Baichao was still a little worried. I think Great Elder Lin may have misunderstood. I don't want to use the pill to cultivate her into a celestial immortal or immortal venerable level expert. I want to use the pill to let her enter the door of cultivation. Jiangchun finally understood and hurriedly explained while shaking his head. Hikari was the first disciple he had accepted since entering the immortal world. How could Jiangchun have the heart to push her into a fire pit? I see. Young master, this is a foundation establishment pill. After taking it, she will be able to sense the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and become a cultivator and reach the immortal realm. Together with the foundation establishment pill I gave you, it will stabilize her cultivation base and lay a good foundation. There won't be any problems. After hearing Jiangchun's explanation, Great Elder also understood. He took out a gray pill from his sleeve and put it on the table. Hikari, eat these 2 pills first. Jiangchun stuffed the jade bottle into Hikari's hand. Hikari nodded and obediently walked to the table. She ate the 2 pills first and then burped. She looked at Jiangchun in confusion. Under the gaze of Jiangchun and Great Elder, they could clearly feel the fluctuations of immortal power gradually coming from Hikari's small body. Although it was very weak and almost imperceptible, immortal power was really being produced. Young master, give her a hand. Lin Baichao took a deep breath and patted Hikari's back with his palm. Immediately, a stream of pure immortal power flowed from his arm to his palm, and then from his palm into Hikari's body. It helped her gradually dissolve the effect of the foundation establishment pill in her body. Hikari, hold on. As long as you can hold on, you'll be able to become a practitioner. When you become stronger in the future, no one will be able to bully you anymore. Jiangchun looked worried. Seeing Lin Baichao already helping her, he stood where he was and didn't move. His eyes were fixed on the little girl. As long as Hikari showed any signs of abnormality, he would immediately take action and force out all the effects of the pill. Time passed quietly. 2 hours had passed since Hikari swallowed the 2 pills. She had been standing in front of the table and did not even blink. Under such a calm appearance, the inside of her body was undergoing earth-shaking changes. Oh, after a long time, Lin Baichao took a deep breath and withdrew his hand. Losing the help of the great elder, Hikari's figure tilted and fell forward. Upon seeing this, Jiang Chen hurried to extend his hand to help her stand up. At this moment, the originally bright and lovely Hikari was covered in a layer of filth. This layer of filth was the waste in her body. Not only had Lin Baichao helped her absorb all the medicinal effects of the 2 pills, he had even used his pure, immortal energy to cleanse her marrow and bones. Thank you, great elder. Seeing the change in Hikari, Jiang Chen also knew what had happened. Young master, don't thank me. Hikari is your apprentice. Naturally, she is the future of our Tianji zone. Doing something for her is what the old man should do. Lin Baichao waved his hand embarrassedly and continued to read the medical book in front of him. Master, I'm so hot. Under the care of Jiang Chen, Hikari gradually opened her eyes. Chapter 1694. Let's go. I'll take you to bathe. Jiang Chen hugged her, ignoring the dirt on his body. He cupped his hands at Lin Baichao and quickly left. In the guest room, Jiang Chen filled the wooden bucket with water and was about to undress Hikari when he suddenly remembered that the disciple in front of him was a girl. Fortunately, I brought Sister Huafu here. Jiang Chen thought for a moment and thought of Huafu. Ignoring whether the bed would be dirty, Jiang Chen carried Hikari onto the bed and immediately went out to find Huafu. Hearing Jiang Chen's request, Huafu did not hesitate. The two returned to the guest room. Jiang Chen wanted to follow them in, but Huafu stopped him. Wait, what are you going to do? Huafu sized up Jiang Chen with her coquettish eyes and smiled charmingly. Hikari is my disciple. She just became a cultivator. I'm worried that something might happen, so I want to go in and take a look. Jiang Chen clenched his hands. He had just gone out to find Huafu for a few minutes, but she was already very worried. Save it, you're just a golden immortal, and I'm an immortal king. If something really happens, I can handle it better than you. Besides, how can a little girl's body be seen by you? Is she your disciple or your child bride? Huafu threw this sentence, then rushed into the room and slammed the door shut. You're an immortal monarch, not an immortal king, Jiang Chen muttered, sitting on the ground with a red face. He was so worried that he completely forgot that men and women should avoid suspicion. Now that Huafu thought he was an old pervert, his reputation would be ruined. After sitting for a while, Jiang Chen stood up and listened carefully to the situation in the room. Half an hour later, Huafu pushed the door open. What medicine did you give her? When she came, she was just an ordinary person who had not even touched the threshold. How did she become an immortal in just one night? Huafu's flirtatious eyes stared at Jiang Chen, and her tone was a little angry. You're not helping her. You're harming her. It's like this, Sister Huafu. Jiang Chen was afraid that Huafu would attack, so he hurriedly explained. Ever since Hikari had followed him, not only Huafu, even by Feng Yu and Xian Yu were captivated by her cuteness. Almost every day, they would fight to sleep with her. Looking at the woman who was by his side before, now being snatched away by a girl, Jiang Chen's heart was extremely sad. Hearing Jiang Chen's explanation, Huafu let out a sigh of relief. But she still reminded him righteously, don't look at how you helped her stabilize her foundation. A pill is still a pill. If you take it multiple times, the disadvantages will definitely outweigh the benefits. I know. Just this once. I'll help her become an immortal and enter the threshold of being a cultivator. Jiang Chen said with a smile. You better remember what you said. Otherwise, if anything happens to Hikari, I will skin you alive. Huafu sneered at Jiang Chen. She gently stroked Jiang Chen's neck with her finger, then twisted her slim waist and left. Jiang Chen shivered, thinking of Huafu, who had transformed into a phoenix's shadow in midair last night. He suddenly felt his whole body turn cold. If Huafu were to take action, Perhaps even Zhang Yuan wouldn't be able to stop her. Hikari, oh Hikari, you've snatched away all the other people's love from Master. Zhang Chen sighed and walked into the room. Seeing Hikari, who had washed up, lying on the bed, he instantly became serious. Reaching out his hand and placing it on Hikari's slender and white wrist, Zhang Chen closed his eyes and carefully sensed the situation in her body. When he sensed that the immortal power in her body was slowly flowing through her meridians, Zhang Chen's lips curled into a smile. Master, the strange feeling in her body woke Hikari up. She opened her eyes and vaguely saw someone sitting beside her. When she smelled that familiar scent, she immediately sat up and threw herself into Zhang Chen's arms. Master, I thought I would never see you again, Hikari wailed. At first, she didn't feel any problem. She even felt warm and comfortable inside her body. But when Lin Baichao instilled his immortal power into her body, she instantly lost consciousness. At the last moment before she closed her eyes, she thought of Zhang Chen. How could that be? Master is here. Nothing can happen to you. Zhang Chen held the little girl tightly in his arms. Hearing Hikari's cries, Zhang Chen's nose also felt sour. It was very uncomfortable. Master, am I a cultivator now? After crying for a while, Hikari broke away from Zhang Chen's arms and clenched her fists. Feeling more strength than before, she asked excitedly, Okay, you will be a real cultivator in the future. However, your current strength is only at the first level of the immortal realm. You must cultivate diligently in order to catch up with my senior sister and surpass my master. In the end, you will become an expert even stronger than my apprentice uncle. Zhang Chen smiled and tapped her forehead with his finger. Then when I become stronger in the future, I will protect Master. If anyone comes looking for trouble like that group of people yesterday, I will beat them into a pulp with one punch. Hikari excitedly waved her little fist. Faintly, there was the sound of wind breaking. These words made Zhang Chen feel a little ashamed. Have you been close to Annie Huafu and Annie Wei Yu recently? Zhang Chen asked curiously. These words made him feel that Hikari was little Huafu and little Wei Yu. Well, Annie Huafu and Annie Wei Yu are very good to me. However, they don't let Hikari call them Annie. I have to call them elder sister. Hikari nodded seriously. It's okay, listen to Master. Just call them Annie in the future. These two people have lived for many years. According to seniority, you can even call them ancestor. Zhang Chen touched her head. Beside Hikari, Zhang Chen felt a rare relaxation. But you have to stay away from them in the future. Zhang Chen turned his head and looked outside the room. After seeing that Huafu was not nearby, he said with relief, Otherwise, sooner or later, you will be influenced by them and become a tigress. At that time, you won't be able to get married. Tigress is so mighty. Hikari waved her fist. After talking for a while, Hikari felt sleepy. Although Lin Baichao helped her digest this energy, it was still too large. She needed enough time to rest and relax in order to slowly adapt to the situation in her body. After covering Hikari with a quilt, Zhang Chen tiptoed out of the room. The news from 100 Immortal King. Do you want to read it? Huafu stood at the door, holding an envelope with the special mark of Kunlun Immortal Mountain in her hand. Zhang Chen felt a little guilty. After all, he had just said bad things about her. Look! Nodding, Zhang Chen took out the thing inside and saw that it was an envelope marked with the words of Ganji's Bank. Looking at the appearance of the envelope, it should not have been opened. It should be that after Bai Xiaoyan got it, she immediately asked the disciples of Kunlun Immortal Mountain to send it over. Chapter 1695. Zhang Chen tilted his body so that Huafu would not see it. What letter? You won't let me see it? Huafu was curious, but seeing that Zhang Chen was deliberately avoiding it, she did not move forward. It's a debt collection letter from Ganji's Bank. Are you going to pay it for me? Seeing the words Ganji's Bank on the letter, Zhang Chen had an idea. He stuffed the letter into Huafu's hand and smiled shamelessly. Get out of here. I don't have that much money. Huafu quickly retreated. She knew that Zhang Chen owed Ganji's Bank more than 1 billion immortal jades. Even if she sold herself, she would not be able to get this amount. Seeing that Hua Fu had retreated, Jiang Qin smiled and opened the letter. There was only one line of words in the letter. Young master, I have already set off. Within a week, I will definitely take down Tianfu Bank. At that time, please come and I will hand over the bank to you. After reading it, Jiang Qin rubbed it and held it in his hand. With a thought, a flame came out and burned the letter to ashes. How much is it? Jiang Qin's actions made Hua Fu think that he owed Ganji's bank more than 1 billion immortal jades. She went forward and asked with concern. A few 100 million, Jiang Qin said casually. This small amount of money can be easily gathered by selling the things in the immortal emperor's tomb. Che, if Emperor Qianji knew that you, as the young master of Tianji sect, actually sold the sect's things, he would be so angry that he would come back to life. Hua Fu pouted. Sister Hua Fu, Hikari's situation is still not stable. Why don't we stay in the village for a few more days and rest? What do you think? After calculating the time, Jiang Qin discussed. Of course, even if I have to live here for the rest of my life, I am very willing. It is rare to have such a peaceful place in the immortal world. However, it is a bit boring. I hope that Yun's sect will come again so that I can relax again. Fire Lotus excitedly swung her fists. Every time she punched out, a faint black space crack would appear. Jiang Qin rubbed his forehead and made up his mind. No matter what, he would never offend Hua Fu. Otherwise, with this punch, he would probably have to return to the Chuanzuan sect in solitary North City. With Hua Fu's consent, Jiang Qin settled down in the village without any qualms. For the next few days, apart from resting, Jiang Qin spent most of his time by Hikari's side, feeling the changes in her body. Lin Baichao also sent people to deliver a lot of pills and herbs. In the outside world, these were all top quality or even peerless quality. Jiang Qin didn't say anything and directly put them into his storage ring. That evening, Jiang Qin was sitting in his room, chatting with Hikari and thinking about the future. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the door, accompanied by Lin Baicao's scolding. Master, is there danger? Hikari hugged her head. Don't worry, with us here, you won't be in danger. Jiang Qin patted her shoulder, helped her lie down, and pushed the door open. At the door, Fire Lotus and Zhang Yuan were standing on the left and right. What's the situation? Jiang Qin frowned and asked lightly. It seems to be a private matter in the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy, Fire Lotus replied softly. And if it were an outsider, we would still be able to help. But since it's a matter in the village, Fire Lotus and I don't dare to ask, nor do we dare to get involved. We can only watch from here. Zhang Yuan glanced around and reached out to pluck a fruit from the garden. He squatted on the ground and took big bites, his eyes watching the situation outside. Not knowing what was going on, Jiang Qin didn't want to interfere. Great Elder, why are you doing this? That Jiang Qin is just the champion of the sect competition. Over the years, there have been at least 500 champions, if not 1,000. I've never seen you treat others like this. Do you want him to be the successor of our Heaven and Earth Pharmacy? A young man stood in front of Lin Baichao and shouted emotionally. Take him away. He might have lost his mind because of the herbs. Feed him a few brain-cleansing pills. If he comes out and spouts nonsense again, I'll hold you all accountable. Lin Baichao was a little impatient, but he couldn't hurt his own people, so he could only wave his hand helplessly. There's no problem with my mind, no problem, the young man shouted at the top of his lungs. But even though he shouted, he was still forcefully dragged away. Even when they disappeared into the night, his shouts could still be heard. Lin Baichao sighed and was about to leave when he saw Jiang Qin standing at the door. Without anyone else, Lin Baichao didn't change his words. He walked to Jiang Qin's side and whispered, Young master, I've let you see a joke. Great Elder Lin, what's going on? Jiang Qin looked at the disappearing figure and asked, It's nothing. It's just that a talented young man in the clan noticed that I was treating you too well and thought that I had the intention of nurturing you to be the successor of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. He wanted to come and reason with you, but I stopped him in time. Lin Baichao couldn't help but laugh. Successor. Jiang Qin's expression was strange. This young man did have some eyesight. He could see that he was unusual. Unfortunately, he only saw half of the matter. He wasn't the successor of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy, but the future owner. All right, young master, you're leaving tomorrow, right? Lin Baichao obviously didn't want to say more. He felt very embarrassed that he had let Jiang Chun see the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy as a joke. That's right. I'm going to the Bank of the Land of Abundance tomorrow. Shopkeeper Song sent me a message a few days ago. He said he was going there with his men. I have to show up, Jiang Chun said, nodding. Didn't you say that it was a letter for debt collection? Before Lin Baichao could reply, Huafu grabbed Jiang Chun's collar and asked with a smile, putting her face in front of Jiang Chun. Looking at her delicate white face, her charming eyes, and her pink lips, Jiang Chun really wanted to kiss her. However, Jiang Chun knew better than anyone else what would happen if he went up to her personally. Cough, cough, isn't it the same if you say it now? Jiang Chun coughed and patted Huafu's arm. Huafu, be more polite to the young master. Lin Baichao frowned and scolded in a low voice. Humph, if you want me to admit that he's the young master, you can talk about it when your strength surpasses mine. Huafu let go of Jiang Chun and snorted. Suddenly, she felt that something was wrong, so she added in time, I'm talking about my own cultivation, the 5th level of the Immortal King realm. Really? Jiang Chun touched his neck. Just a little while ago, his face had already turned red. As far as I know, the Heaven Province Bank should be one of the largest banks in the northern region, except for the Ganges Bank. It's a good opportunity for you to take it. From now on, you won't be short of celestial jade. Seeing Huafu let go, Lin Baichao's tone softened. Chapter 1696. Great Elder Lin, do you mean that there are other large banks in the North region? Jiang Chun did not know much about this. Of course, the North region is the largest region in the Immortal Realm. Based on my understanding of you, you have only explored a quarter of the North region. But don't worry, with the strength of Kunlun Celestial Mountain, it is a top sect in the North region. It is enough to protect you. Lin Baichao nodded and explained. Jiang Chun nodded. What Lin Baichao didn't know was that Jiang Chun was being protected by Bai Xianling. Bai Xianling was the strongest person in the Immortal Realm, and she could let Lin Baichao go anywhere he wanted. You should all rest early today. I reckon that after arriving at the Heavenly Province Bank, there will be other matters that need to be taken care of. Such a large bank is definitely not something that can be completely controlled in a few days. Looking at the sky, Lin Baichao said as he walked outside. Jiang Chun was about to open the door and continue to take care of Hikari when Huafu grabbed his clothes. Brat, I'm warning you. If you dare to make fun of me again, I'll twist your head off. Huafu bared her teeth and stared at Jiang Chun. However, she did not look fierce at all. Instead, she looked cuter and had a different style. Got it, Sister Huafu. Jiang Chun waved his hand and returned to his room. The next day, after a few days of rest, Hikari's body gradually recovered, and she could control the pure power in her body. After saying goodbye to Lin Baichao, Jiang Chun was about to leave with him. However, when they reached the entrance of the village, they were stopped by someone. You are Jiang Chun? It was a young man. Hearing his words, Jiang Chun knew that he was the one who made a scene at his door last night. Get out of the way. We have something urgent to do. Jiang Chun did not want to talk to him. Don't think that you can get the support of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy just because you won the sect meeting. To tell you the truth, I am the most talented person in the clan. The young man was a little angry. He could not stand Jiang Chun's disregard of him. Do you want me to make a move? Jiang Yuan asked softly. He's great Elder Lin's man. Just chase him away. Don't hurt him. Jiang Chun replied in a low voice. Jiang Chun, look at me face to face. Are you scared? The young man pointed at Jiang Chun and took off his clothes, revealing the muscles on his upper body. He was ready to step forward and exchange a few blows. But he hadn't moved yet. He was blown away by the strong wind generated by Jiang Yuan's casual fan. Pa! The young man landed on the pile of firewood and only climbed up a few minutes later. He spat out the grass in his mouth and stretched his head out to take a look. Jiang Chun and the other three had already disappeared without a trace. The next time you come, I'll definitely teach you a lesson. He punched the pile of firewood and roared angrily. After leaving the village, Jiang Chen's group of 4 quickly arrived at Tianfu City, where the Tianfu Bank was located. Although it wasn't as prosperous as the Ganges Bank, it wasn't much different. There were many people living in the town, and there were merchants going back and forth at the town's pass. Everyone entering and leaving had to go through a strict body search. Jiang Chen walked to the pass and opened his arms cooperatively, ready to be searched. Who would have thought that the guard would become excited as soon as he saw Jiang Chen? You're the champion of the sect meeting, fellow Jiang Chen, right? The guard was so excited that his finger trembled as he pointed at Jiang Chen. Jiang Chen smiled and said, "Do you know me?" "Of course I do. Your deeds have long been known in Tianfu City. You defeated Yun Zhetian, who was at the 5th stage of the immortal realm, with the cultivation of the 3rd stage of the celestial immortal realm. You've become a legend. Our stage has adapted a play based on you. It's very popular." The guard nodded repeatedly. "Search me. I have something important to do." Usually, Jiang Chen would stop and chat with him for a while. There's no need for a body search. These must be fellow Jiang Chen's friends. Let's go in together. The guard put his hands behind his back and stepped aside. "Thank you." Jiang Chen nodded at him and thanked him. He took Wufu, Zhang Yuan, and Hikari into Tianfu City. They entered Tianfu City. Jiang Chen looked around, trying to find the people of the Ganges Bank. But as far as the eye could see, they were all merchants wearing all kinds of clothes. "Try to sense them," Zhang Yuan reminded him in a low voice. "No need." Jiang Chen shook his head. It was his first time in a strange place, so Jiang Chen wouldn't easily expose his cultivation. Once he spread out his immortal strength, it would undoubtedly expose his position. "Master, I'm a little hungry." Hikari gently tugged at Jiang Chen's arm. "You are already an immortal. Why are you still hungry?" Jiang Chen asked with a smile, as he recalled that he had just had breakfast when he left this morning. "Yes." Hikari rubbed her stomach and said embarrassedly. "Then let's go. Let's find a tavern to eat. Then we'll think about how to find the people of the Ganges Bank." Jiang Chen had always fulfilled Hikari's requests unconditionally. He hugged her to his chest and began to look around for a tavern. At the corner, Jiang Chen saw a decent tavern. 2 pots of wine and 4 plates of meat were considered today's lunch. Hikari looked like she was starving. When they were on the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, it was Jiang Chen who asked her to eat before she went back to eat. However, she couldn't help but start eating as soon as the food was served. In the blink of an eye, the 4 butterflies were all in her stomach. "A few more plates?" Jiang Chen waved his hand. Soon, the waiter brought some more, but Hikari still ate it all. After 2 or 3 times, the waiter brought them a wooden basin full of roast meat. Not until then did Jiang Chen and the other 2 take their first bite under other people's surprised gazes. After nearly 2 hours, Hikari's stomach bulged. She was finally full. They paid the bill and were about to find a tavern for Hikari to rest when someone wearing the robes of the Ganges Bank walked over quickly. "Big brother Jiang Chen, please follow me." The man bowed respectfully to Jiang Chen. "Oh." Looking at him, Jiang Chen was curious. He had been in Tianfu City for half a day and hadn't even seen anyone from the Ganges Bank. How come they came to find him in the time it took to eat a meal? The man was a bit embarrassed, but he still answered, "I heard that a table of people in this tavern ate nearly 5 kilograms of wild beef, so I came to take a look out of curiosity. I just happened to see you guys." "Hikari?" Jiang Chen couldn't help but laugh as he patted Hikari's head. "Master, I'm hungry." Hikari felt wronged and teared up. "Bring us to see the manager." Jiang Chen held her hand and nodded to the man. Chapter 1697. In a very luxurious manner, Jiang Chen saw Song Yuanjia, who was wearing a magnificent robe. The defense of this manor was even stricter than the one he saw in Eternal River City. Dozens of teams of guards were constantly patrolling around the manor. In some dark places of the manor, Jiang Chen even found many immortal venerable experts. Little friend Jiang Chen, seeing Jiang Chen come in, Song Yuanjia reached out to greet him from afar. "Great shopkeeper Song, your defenses are really tight. I'm afraid that even immortal kings will be stopped if they come here, Jiangchen said, laughing heartily. These words are too flattering. Not to mention the immortal king. Even if the immortal monarch came here, everything I've set up would be useless. Song Yuanjia knew that Jiang Chun was praising him, but he was still very happy to be praised by the young master. Please come in, Jiang Chun said as he reached out his hand. Seeing this, the subordinates around him were all stunned. If they didn't live here, they would have thought that Jiang Chun was the master here, and they were guests. These are. Looking at the three people standing behind Jiang Chun, Song Yuanjia asked in surprise. This girl is my disciple. Jiang Chun held Hikari's hand and introduced them to her. As for these two people, great shopkeeper Song, you should know them. Forgive my poor eyes, but I have never seen them before. Song Yuanjia stared at Jiang Yuan and Huafu for a while, but still shook his head. In the living room, Jiang Chun did not hide anything in front of Hikari. Although Song Yuanjia did not recognize Jiang Chun and Huafu, Jiang Chun did not doubt it. After all, he had enough trust in Lin Baichao, and Lin Baichao also trusted Song Yuanjia very much. However, after Jiang Chen's introduction, Song Yuanjia suddenly realized. He, who had always been calm, actually shed tears because of his emotions. It's really my fault. I didn't recognize the two immortal kings of our Tianji sect. Song Yuanjia beat his chest. His words were full of regret. It's normal that you don't know us. Back then, Tianji Zong was originally a branch of the Qian family. You all lived outside the sect all year round. Only during the sect ceremony would you come back to report on the annual situation. Huafu casually said. Song Yuanjia didn't know her, but she knew this person. Every time during the ceremony, she and Zhang Yuan would stand on either side of Emperor Qianji. Many thanks for the immortal king's understanding. However, the two immortal kings, if you can hide your strength, please lower it a little. In the current immortal world, immortal monarchs are still very rare. After calming down, Song Yuanjia's emotions gradually calmed down. Firebloom's eyes were gloomy. Zhang Yuan was also panting heavily at the side. Head shopkeeper, how are you handling the matters? Jiang Chun was afraid that Firebloom would be angry. If this hot girl was angry, he was afraid that she could raise this manor to the ground in minutes. It's a little more difficult than I thought. After I sent you the news, I immediately brought people here. I just didn't expect Wei Qing and Wei Xiaoqiao to not return on time. The Wei family and Tianfu Bank have already had a premonition. Now, they haven't shown up in the castle. We can only wait here. When the young master arrives, we will discuss countermeasures. Song Yuanjia sighed and slowly explained the situation. Then, according to the head shopkeeper's opinion, what should we do? Jiang Chen crossed his legs and picked up the tea. In my opinion, it's better to use force. Previously, in order to swallow our eternal river bank, the Bank of Heavenly Province even invited immortal king Xianjun over, so we don't have to show any mercy. Speaking of this, Song Yuanjia's eyes gradually became fierce and returned to his state as the head shopkeeper. That's right. I'll take the lead. Firebloom was the first to agree. Such a small matter is not worth the immortal king personally taking action. Song Yuanjia laughed. The fifth layer of the immortal king realm, even in the Tianji sect back then, was a top expert. It's decided now. After planning the time, just let me know. Firebloom didn't care about that. After leaving a sentence, she directly left the living room. Quick, go and clean up the guest room. Song Yuanjia didn't dare to neglect and immediately shouted at the clan members standing at the door. After Firebloom left, Song Yuanjia's smile was somewhat bitter. She's in a bad mood recently, so she needs to vent her anger. Just let her take the lead. Besides, with her strength, I don't think the Bank of the Land of Abundance can stop her, Jiang Chun had to explain. Well, since the young master said so, then let the immortal king give it a try. Song Yuanjia agreed. But I'm afraid it will be delayed for a few days. I found out that the Wei family and the Ganges Bank are planning to transfer their assets. We have to stop them first. Otherwise, we will get an empty shell and not get the immortal jade. We will be wasting our efforts. Just do as you see fit. When it's time to take action, just let me know. I haven't made a move for a long time. Jiang Chen moved his wrist. Since the battle with Yun Jitian, 2 or 3 months have passed. Jiang Chen has been living a plain life. Just seeing Firebloom's expression, his heart was aroused. Young master, you can't do this. Song Yuanzhou was so scared that he knelt on one knee and advised. And what's wrong with that? Jiang Chen frowned slightly. You are the young master of our Tianji sect. If anything happens to you, I can't explain it to Lin Baichao and the 2 immortal kings. I can't explain it to the immortal emperor. Song Yuanzhou looked embarrassed. He couldn't wait to directly worship Jiang Chen for fear of any accidents. It doesn't matter. I have my own life-saving skills. Jiang Chen thought he would say something important. Get up. With us here, your young master will not be in danger. Jiang Yuan raised his hand, and a strong force directly pulled Song Yuanzhou up from the ground. Then my plan is more detailed, but the young master has to stay here for a few days. Song Yuanzhou stood straight like a student. He didn't look like the manager of the bank. Arrange a room. Jiang Chen didn't feel much about this. In the entire Tianfu Bank, there were at least hundreds of billions of immortal jade. With such a large sum of money, let alone waiting for a few days, even if he waited for a few years or decades, what could he do? Young master, please come with me. I have prepared your room. Song Yuanzhou stretched out his hand and took Jiang Chen and the other 2 away. After arranging the accommodation, Song Yuanzhou sent food and wine and immediately said goodbye to Jiang Chen to deal with the matters of the Tianfu Bank. Looking at Ikari sitting under the window, eating roast chicken, Jiang Chen's mouth unconsciously revealed a smile. Chapter 1698. Master, why didn't you ask Uncle Master to come with us? He's so strong, he could definitely take care of those bad guys easily. Hikari put down the drumstick under Jiang Chen's gaze. Bai Xiaoyan. Jiang Chen was stunned and quickly shook his head. He couldn't let Bai Xiaoyan know about this for the time being. Even if he hid his identity, what about the Heaven Province Bank's celestial jade? Based on Jiang Chen's understanding of him, at least half of the money would be handed over to the Divine Secrets Pavilion. Now that the money was in his pocket, he could send some people to the Divine Secrets Pavilion when they needed it. If his father owed any debts outside, he could pay them back in time. Your martial uncle's power is too strong, and if we take him with us, those people will surely get scared and slip away in advance. However, Jiang Chen surely couldn't inform Hikari of such matters, and after thinking for a while, he came up with an excuse. That's true. Hikari pondered this for a while, and she found Jiang Chen's words reasonable. During the few days Jiang Chen and his companions had been staying in the city, a great change had taken place in the city. Many powerful businessmen had gotten some information through their connections with the Bank of the Land of Abundance. They had brought all of their property there as soon as possible. As for the small merchants and peddlers, they were still living their lives as usual. However, compared to them, the Heaven Province Alliance was the most chaotic at the moment. Ever since a wrong decision 300 years ago, many outsiders had entered the Heaven Province Bank. At first, this group of people had been conscientious in helping the Wei family head, Wei Dashuan, manage the bank. However, as time passed, they gradually had their own confidence, and the celestial jade they earned couldn't satisfy their desires. Thus, this group of people began to walk the path of instigation. They knew that in the Heaven Province Bank, the Wei family would always earn the most. If they toppled the Wei family, then all the celestial jade and future profits in the bank would be divided equally among them. It was a pity that the people from the Ganges Bank had come and destroyed their dreams. Now, they were even facing a fatal disaster. Inside the castle, Wei Dashuan sat at the head of the table. Even though he had lost the support of the people, he was still the head of the Wei clan and the true ruler of the Heavenly Province Bank. Even if these people had rebellious intentions, they still respected him on the surface. Tell me, the people from the Ganges Bank have already entered Tianfu City. You all know their intentions better than I do. How should we deal with them now? Wei Dashuan looked at the people sitting in front of him, his heart filled with regret. If he hadn't led the wolf into the house back then, there wouldn't be today's disaster. Head shopkeeper, We've lost contact with young Master and young Mississippi. I'm afraid they've met with misfortune. The only thing we can do now is to mobilize all the experts we can invite to help them tide over this crisis. Didn't we help immortal King Xianjun before? Why don't we send someone to sneak out of the city and send a message to immortal King Xianjun and ask him to help? I think the crisis this time will naturally be resolved. Many people were talking at once, trying to come up with a plan. At the critical moment of life and death, everyone would only think of one thing, and that was how to preserve their lives. It's useless. We've already invited immortal King Xianjun when Qing went to Ganji City. Immortal King Xianjun only agreed to help us once. How can we invite him now? Wei Dashuan shook his head. Head shopkeeper, why did you invite immortal King Xianjun to participate in the Chamber of Commerce's regular meeting in Ganji City? Below, someone who didn't know what was going on asked. Don't you know? The head shopkeeper invited immortal King Xianjun to deal with the Ganges Bank. In this way, most of the immortal jade circulation in the northern region will fall into the Wei family's hands. They'll take the opportunity to kick us out. It would have been fine if they hadn't said anything. Now that someone had brought up this matter, they naturally couldn't hold it in anymore. Head shopkeeper, it's still because of you. If you hadn't invited immortal King Xianjun to devour the Ganges Bank, the people of the Ganges Bank wouldn't have come here. You'd better hurry up and think of a way. This matter started because of you, so of course you have to solve it. That's right, head shopkeeper. Hurry up and think of a way. For a moment, the group of people sitting below, except for a few sporadic people, all questioned loudly. Their words forced Wei Dashuan to a point where he couldn't retreat. That's enough. Wei Dashuan was usually silent. Now that he had encountered such a situation, the anger in his heart couldn't be vented. Thus, he slapped the chair, stood up with disheveled hair, and reprimanded. If you hadn't done everything you could to empty the Tianfu Bank and force our Wei family to leave Tianfu City, would I have done this? Unfortunately, Wei Dashuan could no longer scare this group of people. I say, head shopkeeper, what do you mean by that? You were the one who invited us over. We painstakingly helped your Tianfu Bank resolve the disaster. Could it be that you want to get rid of the donkey after it has outlived its usefulness? If you don't think of a way, I'll immediately tie you up and give you to Song Yuanjia in exchange for his forgiveness and saving our lives. A few other people stood up and pointed at Wei Dashuan. They didn't have any respect at all. All right, after hiding for hundreds of years, I've finally told the truth today. Today, no matter what the future of the Tianfu Bank is, I'll first kill you bunch of vermin. Wei Dashuan suddenly laughed and clapped his hands. Hundreds of soldiers in white armor rushed in and surrounded them. Seeing this scene, those who supported Wei Dashuan but didn't dare to speak up all secretly applauded in their hearts. They secretly thought that the head shopkeeper was finally enlightened. If he had done this earlier, he wouldn't have tolerated their rampant behavior for hundreds of years. Capture all of them. After the crisis of the bank is resolved, wait for me to deal with them. Wei Dashuan looked at this group of familiar faces and shouted in a low voice. As soon as he finished speaking, not a single soldier moved. What do you mean by this? You don't even listen to my orders now. Wei Dashuan had a bad premonition, but he still ordered again with a dignified expression. What time is it? Do you really think you're still the head shopkeeper from before? Among this group of people, a fat middle-aged man suddenly laughed. Xiao Xiang. Wei Dashuan pointed at him. Soldiers, listen to my orders. Tie Wei Dashuan up and give him to Song Yuanjia of the Ganges Bank. Ask for their forgiveness. Then we can live a good life in the future. Xiao Xiang stood up and shouted loudly. Crash! The soldiers moved. They directly stepped forward and pulled Wei Dashuan down from the leader's seat. Wei Dashuan's cultivation was only at the level of genuine immortal. In the face of these soldiers who had been carefully cultivated by his family, he had no chance to fight back. He only struggled for a moment before he was pinned down. Chapter 1699. You are the Wei clan's soldiers, living off the salary I gave you. Why did you betray me? Wei Dashuan couldn't accept this fact. Even though he was restrained, he still struggled and roared. Seeing his bulging veins, his face red, and even his eyes bloodshot, Zhao Xiang and the others laughed as if they were looking at a doll. These armored soldiers didn't take Wei Dashuan's words seriously at all. They directly brought him and left outside. Wait! Zhao Xiang suddenly stretched out his hand to stop him when he was right in front of him. It's not too late to regret it. Now is the time for us to face the enemy together. We can't have any conflicts. Wei Dashuan sighed in relief, thinking that Zhao Xiang had changed his mind. No, no, no. Head shopkeeper, you've misunderstood me. I stopped you because I wanted to tell you something. Zhao Xiang shook his head, the disdain in his eyes growing thicker. What is it? Wei Dashuan asked. Your wife has already been conquered by us. Just before today's meeting, I had a tender moment with her, Zhao Xiang said slowly as he stared at Wei Dashuan. You beast! Wei Dashuan suddenly struggled violently. He gritted his teeth and squeezed out a voice from between his teeth. His bloodshot eyes looked as if they were about to burst and bleed. In his anger, Wei Dashuan could only spit out a mouthful of saliva. Other than that, he couldn't do anything else. Take him away! Zhao Xiang's smile disappeared, his eyes gloomy. After Wei Dashuan was taken away, Zhao Xiang wiped the saliva off his face and shouted, From today onwards, the Heaven Bank is ours. Come with me to see Song Yuanjia. Give him Zhao Xiang as a gift in exchange for them to stop. After Song Yuanjia finished dealing with matters, he returned to Jiang Chen's residence. Jiang Chen was lying in a very comfortable position on the bed, his hands behind his head as he listened to Song Yuanjia's report. Song Yuanjia also told Jiang Chen everything that had happened. Head shopkeeper, there's news. Soon, there was a knock on the door. Come in and talk, Song Yuanjia said. When the clansmen came in and saw Jiang Chen, although they didn't understand why this person could lie in such an arrogant posture in front of the head shopkeeper, they still honestly said, Head shopkeeper, it's about the Heavenly Province Bank. Just say it, Song Yuanjia said. Clasping hands respectfully to Jiang Chen, he said, I just received word that Zhao Xiang is leading a group of people in the Heavenlaw Bank who are trying to instigate a rebellion. The Wei clan's armored soldiers have Wei Dashuan under control. They want to meet with you, sir, and use Wei Dashuan in exchange for peace. What did you say? Song Yuanjia immediately stood up. Even Jiang Chen, who was lying on his bed, sat up straight. This news had far exceeded their expectations. When this person had first come in, the two of them had thought that the Heavenly Province Bank had invited some expert. The clansman repeated himself. How interesting. Let's go and see what they're up to. Song Yuanjia laughed, turned around, and walked out quickly. Jiang Chen followed behind him. In front of the manor, the Wei clan's armored soldiers had Wei Dashuan tied up and were confronting the Ganges Bank's guards. Zhao Xiang stood in the middle of them, craning his neck to look inside. Zhao Xiang, don't let me get the chance. Otherwise, I'll cut you into 1,000 pieces. Wei Dashuan kept taking deep breaths. He didn't expect such a disgusting thing to happen in the bank and his clan. Pa! Zhao Xiang turned around and slapped him. Dog, I'm warning you, you better behave. After seeing Song Yuanjia come out, Zhao Xiang hurriedly put on a fawning smile. Zhao Xiang, seeing that things were as the clansman had said, Song Yuanjia asked, Why did you tie up Wei Dashuan? He's the head shopkeeper of the Heavenly Province Bank. He's on the same level as me. Shopkeeper Song, we've already investigated everything. It's all Wei Dashuan's fault for being blinded by greed and wanting to take over your Ganges Bank, which led to today's trouble. We've already got him under control. So please go back on account of our hundreds of years of cooperation. Zhao Xiang had a disgusting, flattering smile on his face as he nodded and bowed to Song Yuanjia. Come in and talk. Song Yuanjia looked at Wei Dashuan. What about that dog Wei Dashuan? Zhao Xiang hurriedly asked. He wanted to kill this person in front of Song Yuanjia to express their sincerity. Hand him over to my guards. Let your soldiers go back. Come in yourself, Song Yuanjia said. In the living room, Song Yuanjia and Jiang Chen sat side by side. Zhao Xiang sat opposite them. Head shopkeeper Song, I've just thought about it. The Heavenly Province Bank should rely on the Ganges Bank. This is good for both of us. We'll do whatever you say in the future. What do you think? This was Zhao Xiang's first time meeting Song Yuanjia. He felt immense pressure from the former. I'm very curious. Why would the Wei clan soldiers listen to your orders and capture Wei Dashuan? Song Yuanjia took a sip of tea and asked. This, Zhao Xiang didn't dare to say that he was the one who betrayed them. He was afraid that Song Yuanjia would be on guard against him if he found out. However, he couldn't think of any other excuse. I'll answer for you. The group of people led by you wanted to devour the Heaven's Sanctum Bank, so you instigated a portion of the Wei clan's members, as well as the guards protecting the Wei clan. Am I right? Seeing that Zhang Xian had nothing to say, Song Yuanjia continued. It's not like that. Zhao Xiang's face stiffened as he hurriedly explained. Men, control him. Song Yuanjia didn't care about what he said at all. As soon as he finished speaking, a dozen guards rushed in and directly controlled Zhao Xiang. They didn't even give him a chance to speak before taking him away. Patriarch, everyone from the Heavenly Province Bank is under control. A clansman came in right after Zhao Xiang was taken away to report the situation. It turned out that when Song Yuanjia knew that Wei Dashuan had been taken away by the soldiers, he had directly sent guards to the town to seize the Heavenly Province Bank. Sipping his tea, Song Yuanjia nodded. As soon as the clansman left, Song Yuanjia immediately got down on one knee and cupped his fists at Jiang Chun. Congratulations, young master, for obtaining the Heavenly Province Bank. This is your contribution. You should congratulate yourself. It has nothing to do with me. Jiang Chun spoke truthfully. He had only rested in the inn for a while when he arrived at Heavenly Province City. He hadn't done anything else. No. It's all because of young master's prestige. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dared to act so rashly. Song Yuanjia shook his head vigorously. Hearing this kind of boasting, Jiang Chun smiled awkwardly. Not knowing what to say, you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.